right, well, I'm Peggy. Most of you probably know me. I'm Ladina's daughter, and this is my very good friend and business partner, Sarah Koning. And she drove from Michigan. How long did it take you?
9.5 hours.
And I drove 10 hours to get here. I live in Oklahoma now.
Oh my.
So, anyway, this will be the first time we do this, so it's going to probably be a little rough, and we're going to apologize, but we'll do the best we can.
We started you off on the.
Well, we can't say we're not awake now, that's for sure. That was fun. So, I'm going to start out by giving a little bit of detail of how I got to this place and doing this, because I'm a horse trainer by trade and raise and breed horses, and I've done that my whole career. I never considered ever doing anything else because I'm very passionate about it. I was born with that passion. That was one of my gifts when I came, and it's been a really great career. I've been insanely successful, enviously successful, I would even say. And so I've been very blessed, and I know that, and I appreciate that very much. And when my father died, most of you know him. That's what started this.
Yes,
Yeah.
We loved him too a lot.
Because my whole life I've been someone who asked why. Why? There's no, and I had used herbs for years for horses for all kinds of various purposes. My vet would say, "Oh, you'll never save it." I'd be like, "Oh, you watch me." And I did. I saved, like, to the point that the vets that I've worked with over the years will call me and say, "What do you got for this? What kind of magic potion do you have for this?" Because I saved many horses. So I decided that I didn't decide right away because we were moving and trying to get set back up and trying to get the business, keep everything flowing and stuff. And moving, I don't know, is very expensive. When you move an entire business with horses, it's 22 trips from Kansas City to Oklahoma, 6 hours each way, just to get everything there. There wasn't a fence on the place, so it was a couple of years. But I could feel that I was going to get pushed to do something as a result of my dad's death. So, of course, I didn't do anything because I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I knew something was going to happen. I could feel it coming. He's always working with our intuition, and the Spirit is always pushing us in the direction that is our path in life. And so in the back of my mind, I knew something was going to change. And then I got really sick. And in me, that brought up a lot of things. The fear of what my dad had gone through. I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to come back to that. I had, because this was a part of it, in 2019, in December, I got COVID. It was awful. But in a couple weeks, I went back to life, as usual. And then fast forward, 2021, I started getting sick. And I had COVID like 3 or 4 times. And mild to really bad versions of it. I actually need these. I couldn't get well. I literally couldn't get well. And I had a headache that spanned over a year, all the time, continuously. I didn't sleep. I would sleep for literally 20 minutes. And I could be at the table, put my head on the table and be asleep. If you woke me up and I went to bed, the minute I laid down, the pain in my lower back, my knees, I couldn't lay still, I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sleep for more than 20 minutes at a time. And I did that for over a year. And then my metabolism shut down. And I eat good. Like, I've been a health nut for a long time. My job as a horse trainer, I have to look like this. I have clothes that cost $1,000 each to replace. And I am frugal. I don't want to. So this is what I will look like as long as I do that job. Because I'm frugal. Because I have 6 coats, 6 hunt coats. They're $1,000 a piece to replace. I refuse to do it. That's $6,000. I have other things that I need to be a steward of my money over. And so controlling my weight was something that had never been an issue for me. Well, I gained 28 pounds in a not very long time. I didn't know why, but I had always been someone who would take herbs, and so I started taking herbs. I did a full flush, I did a full cleanse. I didn't lose a pound. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna water fast. That will reset my whole system. I water fasted for 20 days straight, and I mean, I consumed nothing but water. I gained 3 pounds. I did, and then I knew I was in trouble. Probably within a few weeks after that, I started having heart problems. Every day for years, I'll unload 2,000 pounds of grain like it's nothing. I just pick up the 50-pound bags and I sling them in the tack room just like this. And I'll do 40 of them in a row. And sure, I'll be a little warm when I'm done, kind of like we were just warm. But I couldn't do 5 bags without stopping. And my heart was, and I couldn't catch my breath. I would just drag the feed cart up the hill, the same hill I've been dragging it up for years. And my heart would race so bad, I would have to stop once or twice on the way up the hill. Then it got to the point I would be washing dishes and it would just take off running. And I mean like pounding, like to the place I would have to hold on to something because I was getting lightheaded and afraid I was gonna pass out. So I scheduled an appointment with the only doctor I trust because I'm gonna go back to where I left. I got so sick, but because of what happened to my dad, because he died as a result of hospitalization. And they knew it. He was septic, they knew it. They knew they couldn't fix it, but they also were not honest with us. So none of us could do the research to find out what God had to help him, that they couldn't use, that they're not allowed to utilize. And as a result, I didn't trust them. I've never really trusted doctors anyway. I've always just felt like you really should just take care of yourself. I mean, obviously you break your arm, you need to go to the doctor. And it's not doctors that I don't trust. I think doctors, for the majority, no one works that hard if they don't love people and want to help them. But they can only offer what the institution that they're connected to is allows for them to offer, or they could lose their job. And becoming a doctor comes with a lot of debt. If you have $360,000 in bills because of school, you're committed to making that money. And you don't have 9 more years to give to some other career to make that up. And so I understand the dilemma that they're in, and so I don't want you to feel like I'm blaming them. But they also didn't own it, so they carry a part of the responsibility as well. Well, I don't trust them. I don't trust the institution that they work for. It's not them I don't trust, it's the institution. And so I went to the kinesiologist, the only doctor I've actually been to since Truman was born, and he's 20, like you would know. He's 23.
Yeah.
He's 23.
I was guessing 24.
Yeah,
so I was close.
Yeah, so my kinesiologist, he's an energy healer, he's a chiropractor. I trust him. I've been going to him for over 30 years. And so I drove the 7 hours to go see him. And in working, and I had, of course I'm too stubborn to just go for myself, but I had slipped on ice and fallen, I hurt myself, and I just couldn't get it right, couldn't get my body corrected. I knew I was out in the center of my back, and that's not something I can pop. And so I went, and he fixed that, and we worked on that a little bit. And then when he started working on my energy body, and he said, you have anger? No. No, not at all. Not unresolved anger, not me. And he said, your liver is really unhappy because when you have an energy that you're suppressing within yourself, there's actually places in your body that are going to physically be affected because the energy is being put into that area. So that's what an energy healer does. And you have to release it. While they can help you, you have to be aware of it. So he's telling me what I need to be aware of. You're angry. He knew my father too. My father, actually, I sent my father to him several times when he would come down to help me. If he, was a little stiff or whatever, I would make an appointment and I would force him to go by taking him.
Actually, he liked it.
I know that he did, but he's also like, yeah, that's right. I get it. Well, I'll be fine. It's fine. I don't need to go. And anyway, so he knew my father, so we discussed a little bit of that situation, and that helped. He said, the thing I'm most concerned about is that your spleen is about 3 times the size it should be. And he said, I don't know what that's about, but we're going to need to work on that. I said, okay. And he said, and also your uterus is very enlarged. And he said, have you been having problems? I said, oh yeah, because I have periods that last for weeks and bleed. Like I'll put in 2 tampons and a pad, and in an hour I have to go, I'm through them, but it's full. I got to the place I wore diapers. Not kidding. I did. Because I couldn't even collect a stallion before it would be a problem, before I knew I'm through it. And I have a job to do. I don't have a choice. Like all of my job depends on me. I'm the central aspect of it. And I have a lot of helpers, but it's me. It comes down to me. And so I said, okay, we'll work on that. And he said, I'm not sure really what's going on. He said, that's not anger. He said, I'm not getting a lot of energy signature there in your uterus. He said, but there's something going on there. He said, I sense unhappiness and maybe some resentment. And he said, but not a lot else. And I said, okay. So we did energy testing, which is kinetic testing, which is where the person puts their arm out like this and holds it, and you ask them questions. And what you're actually asking is you're asking the cellular energy in the body the question, is what you're asking. And then the cells in your body know the truth. Is your name Sarah? Yes. Strong. Your name George? You didn't answer? No. You didn't answer. No, sorry. We didn't practice this. Is your name George?
No.
So your body will get weak. Your body gets weak if the answer to the question, if you've not answered the question in the way that your body is in alignment with, then you will become weaker. And so we went through bacteria. Is it just energy, bacteria? Those were no's. The energy was a partial yes, but not the answer. And so we went through, and he says, it's viral, that was a yes, but not the answer. And we got to spike protein. So I had essentially what you would consider long COVID, but also my partner, without telling me, and I was against getting the vaccine myself because I'm a horse trainer, I never leave the farm, like I literally don't leave the farm, hardly ever, unless I have to go to town to get something, and I was like, I'm just, it's an experiment, I'm afraid, I don't want to do that. He had gotten the vaccine, so that possibly was a contributing factor, because if you have animals, vaccine shedding is a thing. If we vaccinate the young horses, we separate them from the older horses, because the older horses, as they shed the vaccine through their pores and through their mucus, they can transfer what's in that vaccine to the water, to the other horse, and it can affect the other horse's immune system. And so I know vaccine shedding is thing. We've done that for 30 years. We've separated the horses if we're going to vaccinate a group and not the whole group. So I know what some of the risks. I've had horses die within a week of being vaccinated from a vaccine that has a live virus, and I've had them die. And so I have first-hand experience with what can go wrong. And so I was like, there isn't any reason for me to do it. I've already had it umpteen times. And so, because I had it a couple times before 2020, or before that came out in 2021. So I chose not to get it. I didn't know that he had. And so it came down to spike protein. That was what was being collected by my spleen to try to protect me. And of course, now I'm having visions of all of these athletes who are just falling over dead from heart failure. And my heart just does whatever it wants. It doesn't do what it's supposed to. And I'm tired all the time, and I can't sleep, and I'm in pain. And the pain had a lot to do with what my body could not process. It can't process it, and I wasn't processing my emotional pain. I hadn't processed all the pain from my father, and a whole lifetime before that. I waited until I was 50 to do any of it. So I asked him, how do I fix this? And he said, I don't know. I have no idea. He said, but if you figure it out, you let me know. I was like, oh, okay. Well, what I found out is that in America, no one knew how to fix it. I had to get off our internet. I had to get on other countries' internet and go on I don't advise doing this unless you have a Mac, because you will get so many viruses. And I started looking for information. Now, there are countries that pay for their humans' health care, and they don't want you to be sick, because if you're sick, they have to pay for it. And while they're paying for it, you're also not contributing to society, because you're not doing your job and making money, and the government gets a part of that. So you're not only contributing, but you're also costing money. you're part of the deficit. And so those are the places that I found the answers that I was looking for. And a lot of it was like, this probably could work. So I put together a protocol of herbs and a few minerals, magnesium and stuff like that. And the first week I did the one that I call brain. Oh, the second night I slept for 4 hours at a time. The next night I slept for 10 hours. And I slept for 10 hours a night, sometimes 12, for the next 6 months, trying to catch up on the sleep that my body's trying to fix itself. Because while you're asleep, your body repairs itself. Not until you're asleep. So that started my healing journey. And in the middle of all of that, I listened to podcasts, and a lot of them, well, at that time, most of them, because I clean stalls. It's like mowing the lawn. You can, you know, your mind is free to do whatever it wanted, and I didn't want to obsess about things that were bad, because I know what that creates, or about my fears and stuff, because that's what the mind likes to talk to you about. It's about the things that are on it, and it likes to repeat them a lot. And so learning was better. And I'd done that for years, and I'm insanely curious. Like, probably my first word should have been why. But I was listening to a podcast one morning, and because my phone was plugged in, because it's old and I'm too frugal to go buy a new one, I still have it, and this was in 2023. This was only a few days after I had gotten home. I wasn't getting well yet, by the way. But I was in a meditation, a prayerful meditation that morning. I told God, if you'll fix me, you'll teach me, because I'm not going to the doctor. They're not going to kill me. If you'll teach me, I'll teach it. So that's why I'm here. So I've been listening to a podcast about health of some kind, about the systems of our body, because I want to know, well, if I'm going to figure it out, I got to know how do I work? Well, I only slept 20 minutes, so I got a lot done the first month, because I would just get up and until I was tired again, I would just write and just start learning and find everything I could. Well, that morning, it would just run. It would just set up so that the next podcast would just select something on the algorithm that I was on. Well, it was about loving yourself. And I was like, I mean, of course I love me. That's dumb. And then pretty soon I was like, well, I'm not going to, task orientated. I'm going to finish this stall and then I'll go change it. I'm just going to, whatever. And so I kind of half listening, and then pretty soon I'm like, there's something there. I start getting the chills. I'm like, oh, there's something here for me. I actually need to listen to this. And I could stop cleaning the stall and just listen. And there was a lot of things that as she talked, I knew were problems for me. And as women, we tend to do this anyway. It's because we're receptive energy we take on. And, you know, male energy is more outgoing, more of an outward expression, and we're more of an inward expression. So we stand to receive. But if we don't learn how to process our emotions, they get stuck within us. And being a bit of a firecracker as a child, I was taught to control my anger. We aren't always taught, and it comes down to us, because it is our responsibility, especially as we become adults, to learn to parent ourselves in a way that allows us to utilize our healthy anger, because it is healthy. Your anger is there to say, no, that hurts me. You'll not do that to me. Like, a horse kicks me, we're going to have it out right now. That's not, like, if a baby horse kicks you, they don't know, but that must spank them, because that's a boundary. But we let people do it to us emotionally a lot, and we take it. And while I grew up witnessing the most beautiful relationship between two people I think that there's ever been, to my knowledge, because we didn't know the behind the scenes, how to create that, because it just was, and I don't think that it was my calling, because I wouldn't be here if I'd had great relationships. So it was down to me to figure it out. And I was in a toxic relationship, which I'm going to take the majority of the responsibility for, because I wasn't showing up in a way that invited what I really wanted. And I didn't select someone that would either, because of my own wounds, my own energetic wounds. And we'll go over more of that. Anyway, but I was very called out by that podcast, and I needed to love myself enough to stop and deal with my own emotions. And I didn't really know how to do that. Not really. So I started looking for ways to do that. And I think at the top of your page, we're going to start a little bit on some of this. And you don't have to answer this. This first question is actually a question for you to answer, possibly now, but also possibly a point when you have some time to reflect. Because the one thing I can tell you is that words don't teach. It is the experience of life that teaches you. While I can give you a lot of words, if you don't do anything with them, they won't stay. They won't stay in here. That's the way your neurotransmission works, is that as you think a thought, it creates a pathway. But if you only think that thought once, that pathway will never be there. And that's part of the reason that experience is so profound, because when you put an emotion and thought together, they create a pathway in both your heart center and your brain. And those together are powerful, and I'll explain that why that is in a little bit. But do you love yourself? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much? And so if you want to introspect before you write, or if you kind of know, you can put something there. And I hope that over time, if you go back to look at this at some other point, you can make that a bigger number. So some of the ways that, for me, I was unlovable was I expected a lot more of myself than was reasonable. And I would beat myself up for not getting done in a day, not taking into consideration the 3 horses got out and the fences that had to be fixed. Not taking into consideration that life just happens. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was 11 o'clock at night. If the list wasn't done, I needed to stay up and get it done. And I would beat myself up. I was not happy with myself until that list was done. That's extremely unkind to the self. That's extremely unkind to the spirit that's living within you. You're continually suppressing your happiness. And we did come to be happy. We didn't come to be miserable. But I made myself miserable. And at the end of my list, I should have just written, now I'll be happy. The problem was, if I got close to that, and there was still daylight, I just moved that down a bit. Write in 6 more things. So it was a pattern. It wasn't just that, oh, I'm going to be happy at the end of this list, because I wasn't satisfied. There was always more that I could do, and so I was always loading my plate. Now, this is my own fault. But then, when you are a giver, other people add to your list as well. So it wasn't just me adding to the list, but I also had no boundaries. I couldn't say, no, I can't do that today. I would fit it in, just as I had to fit in the horses that got out. So there are lines on here for you too. Do I expect more out of myself than is reasonable?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then, do I care more about other people's feelings than my own? And I think as women, we are set up to be that way. But one of my favorite scriptures, and it's on here somewhere, that took on an entirely different meaning for me, but I am going to bring up now, and when you get to it, we can fill it in. But love thy neighbor as thyself. How much do I actually love myself? That's part of it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. How well am I even loving myself? If I care more about other people's feelings than my own, and I never check in with myself, then the feelings that I am having, I'm suppressing. And anything that you suppress is going to come out energetically in other ways. It's going to have its say. So I'm someone who is fairly disconnected from my feelings for a lot of my life, and kind of drug my heart along, I would say, because of things that I wanted to do or commitments that I made, not caring whether or not there was enough energy for me to do it. If I made the commitment, I kept it. And I wasn't honest with myself about what I could commit to in a loving way that was loving to me. And these were never thoughts I'd ever had. None of this. Like, this for me is a huge change, because these are not things that I had ever considered. When I feel anger, do I suppress it? And that's just a question, yes or no? That's actually on your sheet too. Or do I create a healthy boundary? And, you know, in doing that, I'm not saying react immediately to the anger, but also don't deny that you feel something coming up that feels like, you know, because I would. If somebody said, hey, can you do this for me? I'd be like, yeah, like that quick, suppressed. Didn't look at the irritation that was coming up, because anger comes in a lot of forms, and irritation will be one of them. But I would immediately just squish it, just quiet, be quiet, go away. And so those are going to build up over time, and they are going to make you sick. I know, I did. And is it important for me to love me?
Yes.
Profoundly. And I'm going to get to more why in a little bit. So why is it important to love your body? So love, you can write in love. Love's one of the ones on here. Why is it important to love your body? Because we're gonna include not just the spirit but the body as well. In 1 Corinthians, I have to find my glasses because I can't see those numbers. 6:19 through 20. It says, though your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, you are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. So it's not only important because I can tell you you'll be sick if you don't honor your body. Your emotions are part of that. And I can tell you that we're commanded to love our body. And so not just the energetic part that is affecting it, but also what we're putting into it. Okay, and then we're going to go a little bit quantum physics now, because science teaches us that everything is made of atoms, is the word that you're looking for. And they are made of, each atom is made of 99.99% energy and 0.001% matter. So you are almost no matter. You are 99.99% energy. That's what your atoms are made of. And that atoms are what you're made of. And matter is a word that actually goes in there too. Atom, A-T-O-M.
Yeah,
Which is interesting because that was actually, like, if you do some research, that was the original translation of that name. Atom. Because God made man of atoms. I'm serious, he did. Like I said, I'm insanely curious. So I'll like take a word and just go to the root of it. There are approximately 10,000 atoms in every cell, and you have 32 trillion cells. And I don't know if you want to do the math on that, but that's a really huge number. Now, that's energy. You are a walking nuclear explosion. You literally are. If you could harness all of the energy, then this is scientifically proven. If you harnessed all the energy in your body, utilized all of it at one time, and contained it, you could light up New York City for an entire 24-hour period, including night. And that's impressive. So we are powerful. God made us powerful beings. So
we needed that when the power was out.
we did. Yeah, you stick your finger in the light socket. There you go. Heat's back on.
My power wasn't out. Yeah, it sounds like.
And then 10 and 32 are these two, just in case. So the energy that is within you is moving, and it moves in wavelengths, and those wavelengths are quantifiable. You can measure those, and that's called a frequency. Those wavelengths are frequencies. So there's what quantum physics has proven to everyone, to the world, is that infinite supply of energy that is within you is without beginning and without end. Does that sound familiar? And that there's no perceivable beginning by science, and there's no foreseeable end of it. So science has proven the existence of God, because that 99.99% of you that is flowing to and through you at all times, that's God. That is the energy that makes us. That is the energy that sustains us. You take that energy out, and the meat bag ceases to exist. In fact, it turns into a pile that's very small after all of, because the water has energy. And so as the water is gone and the energy of God is gone, then there's not very much left. Only 0.01% of what you are standing or right here, right now. So with, hang on, I can't see. And the science actually calls this the unified field. There's a lot of, I've heard so many names for it, but it's vibrating at various speeds. And as humans, we can perceive or measure frequencies of those vibrations. And our energy is also how we perceive everything. Our eyes, our ears, nose, fingers, mind, they're all translators of energy. If you take the fingers and you separate it from the brain, you can't feel anything, because the brain is a processor. But without the fingers, the brain can't perceive anything. It's just shrouded in darkness. There's nothing the brain can do without your perceptors. So the things that you perceive energy with are necessary. And I think there's energy is a word that has to be on there. Our eyes, ears, nose, fingers, etc., all translators of energy. They measure the vibrations for the brain. And then the brain translates those vibrations and says, oh, it's a tree, as you're looking at a tree. So the other thing that can be energetically measured are emotions. Meaning vibrations and emotions. Science can measure the vibration of energy in the heart and brain and quantify the experience that you're having while you're not speaking. So they can put stuff on your brain. The Heart Math Institute, you can look it up, it's amazing. And they can put nodes on your chest and on your body. And as they put a little mask on you and you watch a movie, they can tell what you're feeling and thinking by the emittance from your brain and your heart in an energetic sense. They can say, she's sad right now, she's happy right now, she's elated right now, she's in any emotion. They can measure it. Angry right now, yes. They can. So what comes out of you, like you can feel an angry person. If you walk into the grocery store and there's a person in there just and they're coming around the corner, you can feel them. You don't have to have a conversation with them. It comes out of you. Your auric field is 9 feet wide. When you're sending anger out, it might be moving a little further than 9 feet, but 9 feet is perceptible by us scientifically. At 9 feet, they can perceive your emotions by the energy field emitting from you. So science can measure the energy that's coming off of you, and naturally your body's doing the same thing. Your body cells are listening to everything that you say, everything that you feel, and they're having a visceral reaction to it, as would have to be. And because you are the master of your body, you are deciding how your cells are living. So take your cells and imagine them that they're all humans in the United States. Okay, so broaden out your thought of what that would be like. Well, let's say we went to war. All the humans in the United States aren't going to feel good. That's going to be terrifying, right? If the war is coming to us. So in the same way as you are having negative thoughts, negative feelings, those are all going into the energy of your cells. They're all lining up with that energy that you are projecting. So it profoundly you are affected by what you think and what you feel. Profoundly. So the last line I think that you have there is, my thoughts and feelings have a measurable vibrational frequency. And then I think we can turn the page. And I did leave a few lines at the end of some of the pages so that if you wanted to take a few notes or jot something down, or if you have a question about something that I've said, you could jot it down and then we could come back to it at the end. Okay, so this chart on the back page,
It'd be your,
this is measurable. And this chart's been done for quite a while. This is Hawkins. He's actually one of my absolute favorite people. So it starts down at very low with depression. Depression is almost no energy flowing through your cells. Depression, you're depressed your cells. And then guilt, it has a little more power. Apathy, which is kind of like an I don't care, is like whatever, it's the whatever attitude. A little more power. Grief, a little more power. And energetically power. And when you look at these numbers on the side, that's, where are we at? Grief, 75 to 10,000, to the 10th. So there's 10 zeros behind it. So every time you go up, you're going up by a 10th. So not just by like, oh, it's going from 75 to 100. No, it's going up 75 to the 10th power. So it's an astronomical amount of energy, is my point. Stress, anger is about 150. Pride is 175. It is actually better than anger. Because at pride, you at least get boundaries. They may not be positive boundaries because you're not to positive energy yet, but they're boundaries. And so it is better to have boundaries than not have boundaries. Courage starts at 200, and this is where hope starts. This is where things start to turn positive, is at 200. This is when energy turns from negative to positive. So if you can at least reach for hope from where you are and move yourself up the scale, because this is what actors get paid millions for, is just to manipulate the energy within their body, because your cells are going to acquiesce to whatever it is that you're thinking and the feeling that's coming in response. And they get paid a lot of money to do this. And this is something that practicing actually is profoundly helpful with. Trust, willingness,
satisfied.
Would you like to read those?
Yeah, I can.
Just go up. You don't have to read every one of them, but just go up the list.
After trust, you have willingness, inspiring, optimism.
And that's about 310.
And then
Then
at
move it up.
350, you're at acceptance, harmony, mercy. 400, you have wisdom, reason, understanding. 500, we have love, reverence, admire. 540, you're up to joy, unconditional love, and serenity. 600, we have peace, bliss, illumination. And when you get to 700 and more, you have enlightenment, authenticity, oneness.
Understanding the measurable value of these, and this is actually out of a book called Power versus Force. And if you want to read a book that really explains how your feelings and your emotions are creating the life that you are experiencing, that's an amazing book. And it's by this Hawkins.
This doctor.
Yeah. So why is this important? Your thoughts, as we said, are affecting your thoughts are creating your emotions. Your emotions are generated by the thoughts that you're having. And those are affecting your cells. Your cells are lining up with them. So Proverbs, it says, this is one of my favorite. In fact, Proverbs are kind of my favorite. One of my favorite ones. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. And we were sent here really to love each other, to help each other, to heal each other, to support each other. And another way of translating that is that we were sent here to manipulate energy. We're called to manipulate the energy, to work with the energy in our being, because those are our emotions. So energy is one of the words. And that is, our bodies were designed to do this. That's how we were created. We were created to do this. We don't talk about it a lot, but we were created for this purpose. So I'm just going to explain also from quantum physics how we manifest, like how that happens on a scientific level. As you have a thought, and that thought generates a feeling, they leave your body, and they go out into the universe. And God processes them, and then sends you back the equivalent of that energetic signature. So if you have a thought, I'm not going to have enough money to pay my bills this month. I'm not going to make it to the end of the month with enough money. How does that thought feel? Anybody?
You won't.
But how does it feel? This is the important part. How does that thought feel?
Depressed.
Depressed, sad, fearful. Anxiety, yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's fear. So it generates fear within you. As that thought goes through is heard by your body, your heart responds to it in a fearful way. That fear and that thought lead together energetically, and they go out. And then God says, that's what you're lined up with. Okay, that's what I will give you back. And so it comes back to you. So God reflects back to you what you have felt because of the thought that you're having. Now, if you said, okay, I'm going to surrender this. God, I know I can trust you. I know you got me. I know I'm supported. How does that feel? Uplifting, hopeful. If you can get to hope, God goes, God, yes, send them enough money. Just like that. Like, it's literally that simple. But science can quantify your thoughts and feelings, which means we can. So if you know the thought and feeling that you're having aren't good, then it's time to adjust the thought so that the feeling can be different. Because you are going to get back, you absolutely are going to get back what you're putting out. There's no way around it. And the interesting thing about the heart, before I go on to why that is, staying with science, the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than your brain.
Then what?
Than your brain. It's 5,000 times more powerful. The energy signature radiating from the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain is, than the energy signature radiating from the brain. But it's also magnetic. So your heart is what's creating your life because it's drawing back to you that experience. Literally, it's magnetic. It is a magnet. So it brings it back to you. So you can have a thought, I'll be fine. But if you don't believe it here, what's coming back is what's here. So mantras only work if you will align the energy of your heart with them. Faith only works if your heart believes in the faith. Well, you're always exercising faith, actually. You're either exercising faith in the negative thought you're having or in the positive thought you're having. But that's where the choice is. It doesn't matter if you change the words. If you don't change the response here, if you can't elevate the response here, and we're going to talk about how to work with that. If that doesn't change, nothing can change. So that's part of our job, is to direct our thoughts in a way that we align with what we want, because happiness is an inside job. It's an inside job. We are called to do so because that being happy, I mean, all of the positive feelings are happy feelings, and we're called to be beneficial to others. So our life experiences are determined by the quality of our thoughts in partnership with the energy that leaves our heart. In Proverbs, he says, "He that hath no rule over his spirit is like a city broken down and without walls, without boundaries." And did I write boundaries next to that on there? I don't know if that, okay,
Yes.
that's good.
Yes.
That's actually important. It's actually important. And I'm not talking about boundaries with everyone else. My boundaries were my problem with me. I was the fruit of the problem with boundaries. So I would suggest learning a little bit about that chart, spend some time working with your emotions, start learning just to identify them. What does this feeling feel like? Like what feeling I'm having, what does it feel like? I'm irritated, but what? Like
And why?
Why? Yeah. So once you can start to work with the emotions, because blame and guilt can feel a lot the same, but they're actually energetically quite different. Will you tell me where blame and guilt are on there? Yeah.
Those of us that have heard the sermons the last few weeks was on service.
Uh-huh.
And if you look at what service,
Yeah.
that'll give us joy.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get more out of this than you are in that one. I came here for the hit. And in Genesis it says, "I gave unto man his agency, and also a commandment that they should love one another," which is perfect that you just said service, because that's what that's about. "And choose me as their father." With that, I would point out that learning about the quality of the love that I feel will determine the quality of love that I receive from other people. And part of the reason that I'm going to take the majority of the responsibility in the relationship that I was in, I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I had no boundaries with myself. I talked to myself in the most negative ways. You need to get this done. You haven't gotten enough done today. You don't have time for that. Stop dilly-dallying around. I mean, you talk about schedule. Huh. None of that was nice. No one really wasn't nice to me. Because as all that went out with me, from me, God said, okay, well, that's how you can treat yourself. So is everybody else. The quality of love you give yourself will be the quality of love you receive. It's just the way that it is. So loving yourself is profoundly important if you are going to be of service to anyone. And a lot of the things that I did, because I filled my plate too full and I pushed my body too hard all the time. Starting in high school, I worked 40 hours a week, went to school full time, and maintained an A student. What suffered was my body, which I went to the hospital twice for over a week, and they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you. When I was in high school, remember that? And it was one of the doctors that said, I think she has chronic fatigue. That wasn't even a thing then. But I did that to myself. Because I didn't give my body the respect that it deserved. I also didn't give my emotions the respect they deserved. I had no boundaries. And so that relationship was a reflection of how I treated myself. Everyone around you, the way they treat you, the way they talk to you, are an example of the way that you're treating yourself in some way. They have to be. Because God gave us our agency. You treat yourself that way, that's what you're going to put out energetically. That's what's going to come back to you energetically. So if you don't like the way someone's talking to you, the first thing you have to change is the way you're talking to yourself. Because there's something off. And they are trying to tell you they are a gift. God is trying to show you through them. So the ornery people in your life are your biggest gift, I can tell you that. The people that trigger you, bless them. Because they are helping you. But agency is important because God wanted us to be able to choose all of those things. To choose to love one another, to choose to love Him, to choose to love ourselves. That's all our choice. And it is down to us to do that. The love that I feel for myself and that I'm open to flowing through me will be equal to the quality that I'm able to offer to others. Love thy neighbor as thyself. If my neighbor treated me and talked to me the way that I was talking to myself when I started this journey, I'd flatten his tires for him. So, we're going to go over a few simple ways that I use to create love for myself and by extension then also to others. And this has upgraded my friend group tremendously, I can tell you. There are people that I don't even talk to anymore because I no longer live at a place where there's a flow. Because what I'm putting out, they're not in alignment with coming back. And all of my relationships have improved, all of them. As I improve my relationship to myself and the way that I was showing up for myself, my relationship with everything, including God and profoundly God, has become better. And one of the things that before we go any further, I'm going to go back to science just for a second. Part of our agency is how much of God we are allowing to flow through us. And the chart that you have is a calibration of the quality of the energy or the frequency of the energy that is measurable, that is coming out of you. So God sends energy to us all the time. There's a continuous flow. That's what's keeping us alive. And that energy is moving. So it's a flow. It has to flow. So by my thoughts and emotions, what I essentially am doing, if my emotions align with authenticity, what that means is I have achieved thoughts that allow me to feel a fullness of the love that God has for me. And when I am in depression, I am pinching that flow like you can squeeze a hose, and I'm allowing by my thoughts and my feelings, I'm disallowing the energy that would otherwise flow to me, because we are what affects the flow. God doesn't say, oh, you don't get to have any flow today. You just be depressed. He doesn't do that. That would take away our agency. So it is always our choice. And that's part of the way that we are designed so that agency can be profoundly hours. So, so I'm just going to go over a couple of the ways that helped me. Love by way of water. So you take just a glass jar like this, and you can, for a few minutes, just say, I love being alive, I love my dog, I love my granddaughter, I love water, I love me, drink it. I couldn't drink it. The first time I did, I thought, that's easy, I can do that, no problem. Spend 2 minutes just sending love into this water, because water, and you're made up of 70% water, will take on the vibration of anything that it touches. That's why your emotions run through you so fast. Well, I mean, have you ever stood in a puddle and touched an electric fence? Doesn't take but like that long for it to hit you. So in the same way, because I'm projecting energy, I'm projecting love into this water. If you drink it, that energy of love is in those cells, in that water. And they do influence you as they go in. So the first day that I put a whole bunch of love in the water, I literally could not drink it. I literally could not water my plant with it. I was like, I couldn't force myself to drink it. And I was like, well, I really need to work on this. So I thought, I'm walking to the barn, I can do this. I'm just going to feel more love for me. I love me. Nothing. I love me. Nothing. Like, I was very disconnected from my emotions. Like, real. But that's a really easy way. And then if you don't have the time, so you're in a hurry, take a piece of paper, write love on it, tape it to the water glass. Just seeing the word changes the water in the glass. There's a guy, Marsuo Moto.
Right, Moto.
Yeah, actually won a Nobel Prize for his research on water, and how if you took water and you put love on it, and you took another glass of water and put hate on it, and you watered 2 plants with it, the one that had the word hate on it, that plant died, and the other one thrived. So it profoundly affects just to see the word love.
I wish I'd known you were gonna do that, because I have his crystals
Oh yeah,
that he did, and those are beautiful.
they are beautiful. I have the cards
It shows the
of them
effect of our words on the
on the water.
And so they did the crystals, and then they took pictures of the crystals, and you can see the beautiful crystals for the positive energy, and you can see the distorted crystals
there's no
for the
there's no
negative
coherence.
energy. No, none.
And this is actually a really interesting point. As the energy rises to a more and more positive level, there's more coherence, or more alignment, more harmony. And at the lower levels, it's a lot of disharmony, which makes crystals that are not pretty. They don't have structure. And if you know, everything falls apart when you're down there. Everything around you is affected. So, oh, and then another one that I did, which was profoundly hard for me, is in the morning and at night, I wrote on the mirror, say it, so that I remember, because I'm running 10,000 miles an hour all the time. I would stand in the mirror, and when I was done brushing my teeth, I would say, I love you, and look at myself in the mirror. And my goal was 10 times. The first time I stood there for minutes, I just started laughing, left the bathroom, I couldn't do it. I was like, this is so ridiculous, why can't I do this? But it just shows how negative I was towards myself. Because your cells know, your spirit knows the truth, whether your subconscious is aware of how you treat yourself. So, all right. I think I might have. It's a timer challenge. Oh yeah, so if you have a phone and you can just set a timer on your phone to go off. So I set one every 2 hours, and I would just stop whatever I was doing and hug myself and say, I have a goal of loving me. And that's all I would do, and then I would go on. So that was just an easy way to just keep active in my mind that my goal was to love myself more, because I wanted to be well. I didn't want to be sick. It's amazing, because I actually did know some of this stuff about quantum physics. I just didn't put the correlation between my body and quantum physics. Oh, printed quotes. This was one that was great for me, because as a child, I can remember, I have a photographic memory. I can remember the cursive writing on the fridge or wherever it was of love thy neighbor as thyself, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. They were everywhere as a kid. So printed quotes was great for me. My favorite one that I used was, happiness is where everything I want waits. Happiness is where everything I want waits, because it made me smile. And so I put that one everywhere, like everywhere. And another one I used was do you love yourself right now? I would catch myself looking at it when I was being mean to myself. And so we're going to talk a little bit about stress. Does stress add to health and weight issues?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Now there's good stress
So
and
does
bad.
not loving yourself.
Oh yeah, well that's stressful. Not loving yourself is really stressful. Stressful on yourselves. Good stress and bad stress. Exercise, that's good stress. Car crash, bad stress. Okay, so we do realize that, like anything, there's both sides. There's good and bad in all things. So a question to ask yourself, because stress is basically what happens when you feel stress, is your body goes into fight or flight. And so ask yourself, do I live in fight or flight frequently? And I mean, what that looks like is just being anxious about something you can't right now change. I'm projecting, I think I might have, is this the one? Stress becomes a problem when it is in response to the negative mental loops and pains of the past and fears of the future, and that might be a word, I'm not sure, that haven't or might not ever take place. So if you're obsessing about something that might happen but it hasn't happened, that's causing you stress.
Or it could happen.
Yeah, or you're obsessing about something that happened yesterday or 10 years ago, that's causing stress because it's already back there. Now there are probably emotions that need to be dealt with that are connected to it, and that's why that possibly is continuing to come up. But living in stress, first of all, is going to create, because that's anxiety, fear. That's going to create things, bring things back to you don't want more of. So it's kind of like I won't have enough money to pay the bills, and then changing it, like being able to recognize I'm putting myself in a stressful place. I need to give this to God. I need to release this and have faith, which is a much higher vibration. So one of the things that I would ask myself constantly, can I do anything about this unwanted thing? This red hot minute? And if the answer was no, I'd be like, okay, stop obsessing. Stress and anxiety release adrenaline, cortisol, and epinephrine into the bloodstream. They flood the system with glucose as soon as they hit the blood. Insulin production is halted at that point so that you have plenty of energy to fight the bear or the perceived bear in the future. And once the threat passes, glucose gets metabolized. Insulin comes out, glucose gets metabolized. The body normalizes, everything's good. Repeated stress, ongoing anxiety, put the system out of balance. Insulin is required to take glucose into the cells for energy. So if you live in stress frequently, you will be depressed. That's going to happen. If you're depressed, the first part's true. If you live in stress, you're not going to have energy. You're going to be depressed. So the pancreas, what happens is the pancreas can't keep up with the demands for insulin, because every time you put glucose into your system, then insulin has to be released. Well, if you do it over and over and over and over and over throughout a day, this is what that looks like is insulin resistance, and then later diabetes. So that is an energy imbalance potentially that is manifesting physically in your body. Not always. You can eat too much sugar too, but generally stress is what makes you eat sugar, because when the glucose stays high and can't be used for fuel, and fuel is required, the body says, oh, I'm tired. I'm really tired. And it says, and the cells say, well, we need glucose. We need some glucose. And so you have a sweet tooth. And you go eat some. And you immediately feel better, like instantaneously, because there's receptors in the back of your tongue. And when anything sweet, even if it's a lie, like an artificial sweetener, which is one of the worst things you can do for your body, because it lies your body, passes the back of your tongue, dopamine is released instantaneously. by the body. But if you have a sugar problem, get unfiltered raw honey and drink it like it's candy. Just replace everything that's sweet that you do with honey, with good honey. Christopher, you can get it from Christopher because he has honeybees. And it's raw and unfiltered. The filtered and not raw kind or not organic kind, it's workable, but it's not as good. And a lot of those bees are actually fed sugar in the wintertime, so it is void of some of the really amazing benefits of honey. Honey, 2 tablespoons of honey can sustain a 240-pound man for 24 hours and give him all the nutrients he needs. All the nutrition.
You have to
Honey
look
is
at the back of the bottle.
amazing.
I didn't know that.
What's that?
You have to look at the back of the bottle?
It'll
'Cause
say
some
right
of
on
it
the
does-
front.
it's
It'll
not
it'll
just
say
honey,
if
it's
it
like
doesn't
they
say
add
raw
stuff.
unfiltered
yeah.
on the front of the bottle, because if it is, it'll one, it'll be more expensive, but also they want you to know because they've done it on purpose. It'll say on the front of the bottle. Raw unfiltered. It doesn't have to be unfiltered. Unfiltered is better because it will have more nutrition, but raw is the point, because when they cook it, nutrition's gone. A lot of it. It'll still be better than just sugar, trust me, because honey has a slow uptake. So it doesn't bring your glucose levels spiked. So if you know that you have sugar cravings, first of all, you have a dopamine problem. And very possibly you need to work with how you're working with your stress. You need to give more stuff to God. Carry less. Feel your emotions. Sit with them.
But if honey instead of sugar, it'll
Yeah,
burn your body
because
out.
it will help you. It will give you the nutrition that will bring a lot of your levels back up. Because when the body can't do what it needs to, it's because it's devoid of nutrition or suffering energetically. Those are the only 2 reasons. So repeated stresses put the system out of balance. Insulin is required to. Oh, we did those, didn't we? Did we do those?
Yes,
too?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now the worst things that happen when to your body, when you live in fight or flight, or you have a stressful thought, and then you have that energetic response of anxiety, the body stops metabolizing immediately. No metabolism takes place, and it starts putting stuff in storage areas. You start storing fat immediately, like literally immediately, because it thinks, oh, well, we're gonna need to fight. You better store some stuff, because
But
who
there's
knows
gonna-
how long
but
this
there's-
fight's gonna last. So your body is insanely intelligent. It thinks it's saving your life, and you're like, why am I bad? But this comes out a lot in response to the things that we don't understand about our body and how it works. It's not your body's fault. It wants you to live. It wants you to thrive. It wants you to feel well. And it's doing the best that it can too. So your body is never against you. It's trying to send you messages. Blood flow goes to the extremities so that you can run and fight. And all your internal processes stop. You stop creating all of the fluids. You stop digesting your food. And what happens when you stop digesting food is it starts to putrefy. And you don't absorb nutrition at this point either. So if you're anxious all day, you haven't absorbed any nutrition. Just know that. Then what happens in response if you do this a few times in a row just in your mind? Constipation, bloating, gas, loosey-goosey. After you get constipated, because all the water then has to be put into your system to get that food moving, or you're going to die, because sepsis happens if your food stops moving. You're going to get sick because it's going to start absorbing rotten food. So you're going to have diarrhea. And then if you have anxiety again, it's going to be a cycle. This is how IBS becomes a thing. Irritable bowel syndrome is a process of constipated, bloating, gas, and flush, diarrhea. So if you run from that bear a lot and you have bouts of IBS, then I would do some things that work with you internally, and I would get some herbs to help the system to deal with that. And then I have a list of, did I listen to them? Well, the whole list?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm just going to run through it really fast. What happens when you shut down? As a result, fatigue, no usable energy. Irritability, because your cells are depressed, because they don't have any energy. Headache, because of the fluctuating glucose levels, bellyache, which, as we talked about, because of the shutdown, elevated blood pressure because of the excessive adrenaline in your system, low sex drive because all hormone production stops. Thyroid stops working, your metabolism shuts down, your adrenals shut down, you don't sleep well, you can't wake up, all those things. Low sex drive, well, I said that one, I'm sorry. Muscle tension, because you stop taking, fluid stops going into your muscles except for your arms and your legs. And you're not cycling any of the toxins out, so you're gonna have muscle tension as a result. I said sleep deprivation, metabolism, high blood pressure, because when this happens, when epinephrine hits your system, your blood vessels constrict. This is one of the things that energetically can cause high blood pressure. Immune system halts, and you autoimmune. If you do this long enough, you'll be autoimmune. It's
Guilty.
one of, and yeah, actually, maybe Sarah, this would be a good time for you to talk about your experience with how you. Or do you want a few minutes?
I don't care. I can do it now. I can do it
Okay.
later.
And
Well, so Peggy and I are very similar in the sense of I did not love myself also. I was a horse trainer also, and so you find that you're on the go constantly, and there's never time for yourself. It's, oh, I gotta do this for this horse, I gotta do that for this client, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. And I was 25 when I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease. I had celiac disease. Shortly after that, I got Raynaud's, and they just kept coming after that. Wasn't fun. It wasn't until I had our second son, I started gaining a lot of weight. I was depressed all the time. I was tired. I was fatigued. I had a 2-year-old and a newborn,
a business.
and a business and a husband, and I didn't want to do any of it. And I didn't know why I didn't want to do any of it. And so I went to the doctor, and I'm like, I'm not right. Like, this is not me. I'm not happy. I don't, oh, well, you're just depressed. It's postpartum. We'll give you some drugs for that. I'm not, like, I know I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy, if that makes sense. Like, I'm like, there's something more. Like, my hair's falling out every time I take a shower. There is gobs of hair. Like, my husband would be like, Sarah, can you please remember to clean the drain? It's gross. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I was like, this is just not right. So finally I went to
Now,
a
how old were
different,
you then? At that point.
Jasper is 5, so I was 35.
Young.
So, yeah. And so I finally was like, my friend said, you should go to a natural doctor. Listen to her. I have a really good one. Go there. Okay, that sounds better than going on antidepressants and all this stuff. So I went to the natural doctor and I told her, and she's like, oh, I wonder if you have a thyroid issue. Let's check your blood levels. Sure enough, I was hypothyroid, but I wasn't just hypothyroid. I actually had a nodule on my thyroid that was because my body was attacking itself, and I had Hashimoto's disease. So my body was actually attacking my thyroid. And so we got to discussing things, and she's like, your levels are really off. I'm gonna have to have you go every month and have your levels checked and have your medications specially compounded for you. Okay, all right. So I did that for almost a year, because I got diagnosed in March, and then the following year is when COVID happened, so it was almost a year. COVID happened, they shut down, and mind you, I'd gone every month, and they'd do my blood work, and I'd get a new medication for the month, and they'd do my blood work, and I'd get a medication for a month, and so on. COVID hit, and they said, oh, you're fine, don't worry about it, you don't have to do it anymore, you don't have to come in. And I went, okay, time out. This makes no sense. We just went from this is the end of the world to, you're fine, we'll just keep renewing your prescription. And I was like, I'm still overweight. I still have lack of energy. I can drink 3 or 4 coffees a day, and I'm still like tired, like this is not right. My hair, it's not falling off as fast, but it's still falling out. Like, I'm unhappy. So I started talking with Peggy, and I was like, I'm gonna do some research and figure out these thyroid, what I need to take, because I want to take thyroid meds.
Had you come to my house?
In between there, I forgot about that part. In between there, I had, in my craziness, when I had just started the medication, my husband was like, "You need to go see Peggy." Like,
He
I
actually
think you.
called me and he said, she is so unhappy, I don't know what to do. You got anything? And I was like, just send her. He bought her a plane ticket that day.
It was my,
She
it was
came
my
the next
Mother's Day.
day.
It was my Mother's Day gift. He's like,
She
"You need to leave."
I was like, okay.
So I was like, "Hi."
Here I
showed
am.
up and I was there for a couple days, and Peggy was like, you know the Mary herbs that we make for the horses? And I was like, yeah. And
Because we'd use them for years.
oh yeah,
she'd been
long
using them.
time. I've been using them for breeding my
She
mares.
starts telling me her symptoms.
And I start telling her my symptoms, and I'm like, I know I'm not a nice person. Like, I'm moody, and I can't control it, and I don't want to be. And like, I snap at him, and I don't mean to snap at him. And it's not like it's me. It's not who I normally am. And like, I'll do it, and I'll go, "I'm so sorry," and I can't stop it. I'm just tired. And she's like, "Here, I'm gonna make you some tea."
We didn't make capsules and we made tea. Because I have the loose herbs for the horses.
She comes back with this tea, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I'll do anything. Like, all right, I give it to the horses every day. I'll drink it. I drink it, and I was like, okay. A couple days later, and I'm like, I feel normal. Like, I'm not grumpy anymore. Like, hey, this is great.
Like
So-
enough of a change, her husband made tea for her every morning.
Oh yeah, he used to
He
call it my
made
happy
it.
tea. He
And
was
if she
like,
got
"Here
low, she'd be
go."
like, you need to get more. You need to order more.
He was like, here you go every day. So now fast forward, I have Hashimoto's disease and COVID hits, and I'm like, all right, if I fixed my hormone issue as far as my lady parts and my moods, and why can't I get off this medication completely? There's something we're missing, and I'm gonna figure it out. So we talked some more, and we came up with a list of herbs that I was gonna start taking. And I freaked my husband out because I said, I'm done. I'm not gonna take any more of that medication. And of course he's going, oh no, the crazy woman's coming back, right? I'm like, no, like I'm confident. I know what I've done. Like we've done our research. We're good. And I drank my first cup of female herbs with my thyroid herbs tea, and a week later I was like, hey, do you see the tray? My hair's not falling out. And I had more and more energy, and I felt better, and then the weight started coming off, and I can honestly say on the prescription meds, my symptoms improved but never went away. I never lost any weight. My hair still fell out, just not in gobs. I was still tired, I was still fatigued, and I was a happy, normal person.
Well, that was in 2023-ish?
Yes. Yeah. I'll never go back. I think there's no, I'm happy, everything's good. I have the most energy. I feel better now than I did in my 20s.
So we'll go back now with practical stress reduction. Okay, so science has recently found that hope molecules, is what they call them, are produced when muscles are contracted repeatedly over a short period of time. A hormone that is released into the bloodstream by your muscles, it travels directly to the brain. They followed it, and it cures depression. I mean, this whole thing we did at the beginning, we were all smiling when we sat down. Like, it's fast, it's fast. In less than a minute, you can be smiling. Optimally, you would do some type of walking, some type of muscle contraction. You can stand in one place and do something. About 15 minutes is actually a full day supply of hope molecule. So it doesn't even take a lot. Just move. Do something for about 15 minutes a day. Yoga, trampoline, walking. And this is all science. This is all stuff that science has proven that's actually how I found it, was through a scientist, was this information. And you can look it up, you can Google it.
Shouldn't that top one be contracted? When muscles are repeatedly contracted over a short period of time?
I don't know that she's written those down. Yeah, contracted. On mine it
Yeah.
says short. Maybe I changed it on yours. Well.
Oh,
That
see, and I was looking at
I'm so
yours.
sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Hey.
Yes, contracted. You're right. Thank you, Mom.
You're right.
Thank you.
I was looking at Peggy's cheat sheet because she has it in red.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine have the
went
words in
straight.
red so that I don't have to rack my brain for what I was thinking when I read it. Breath work. The fastest on the spot return to homeostasis and balance that you can do. So when you're in stress and that fight or flight has come out, you've got that adrenaline and stuff in your system, breath work is the fastest on the spot thing you can do. And this was Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's one of my absolute favorite. If you find him on YouTube, he's amazing. Does all kinds of stuff with the brain and the body.
Who's this?
It's on. I think it's on your. Is it on your list? Oh, can we write this on there? Dr. Andrew Huberman. He is the head of the neuroscience lab at Harvard. Amazing man. Amazing.
Huberman?
Mm-hmm.
H-O-L.
Yeah, if you can look him up. So what you would do is empty your lungs. Oh, Huberman.
Huberman?
Empty your lungs, and then take 3 short inhales,
But man,
Hold.
with 2 ends.
and slowly release. And you want to take your inhales actually in through your nose, and then release them out your mouth. And I think nose and mouth, if I did it right, are on your
Empty the lungs, take 3 short inhalations that fill the lungs through the.
mouth. Release through the mouth. So it's called the cleansing channel in yoga, when you release it through. Do that 3 times, and it actually releases chemicals from your blood or from your brain that live in your pituitary gland that immediately calm your central nervous system and then counteract the adrenaline. So if you get in a wreck or something, this is the best way to, on the spot, bring yourself back into balance so that you can, the blood can return into your brain, because you kind of stop thinking when you go into fight or flight, you're just ready to run.
It's just mouth. It's nothing. Just kidding.
Okay,
So what is that one?
Mouth.
mouth, through the mouth.
Oh.
Breathe out through the mouth. You breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Yes. Like
And
that.
these chemicals that you're releasing through this breath work, the reason you breathe in through your nose is because it actually pushes pressure. When you breathe in through your nose in any fashion, it pushes pressure up against this gland and releases calming hormones into your bloodstream.
So,
We're actually supposed to breathe through the nose all the time. Mouth breathing is actually really bad for you, for your brain.
The first one is supposed to be nose.
That's why it causes snow.
Nose, yes. In through the nose, out through the mouth.
Just like Lamaze.
Exactly. Yeah. You need all the relaxation you can get.
Of course, those are screams.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so mantras are one of the things that I love that you can use on the spot. They're kind of like printed quotes, and like we learned, words have energy and water will absorb that. So these are things that I would actually say out loud. You repeat the words due to the vibrational offering to change the state of emotions and cells in the body. So you can change the state of your emotions in your cells by repeating words. In fact, when I was in a really toxic relationship, I would say to myself, I learned this from someone online, and I would be obsessively, negatively blaming him, because blame feels better than guilt. It's much higher you can look. We just don't want to stay there, because that's also negative. While I was blaming him and I would catch myself, I would say, if I need him to be different for me to be happy, I'll never be happy. I came to be happy. I will be happy now. Starting now, I will be happy. And I would say, I will be happy now over and over until I could release it. And that helped me tremendously. I would say it like 100 times a day. I'm not kidding. So, another thing that I would say if things were going wrong around me is everything is working out for me. All things work together for good, to the good for those who love the Lord, and this too shall pass. Because all those are true. Everything is always changing. The only thing honestly, the only way to get ground, because that's a thing I think that we all seek as physical humans, is stability. We're always seeking stability. It's called getting ground if you do yoga and stuff. But it's about seeking stability. And the problem is when we look at things around us for stability is they're all going to change. Everything around us changes. That's the only promise I think that we really get as humans, is that things are going to change. The only thing that doesn't change is that energy that is supporting you. Your only real ground is the energy of God. The only thing you really can ground in is that. You have to energetically ground. And if you think about it, it's the biggest aspect of us. It's 99.99%. It's the most important part. Okay, and then the last one is posture. Changing your posture changes your neurochemistry. Scientifically proven. They've done studies with nodes on the head to see how it changes the energy in you. It changes your feeling state because it releases chemicals. So what you would do, and this is better for better or worse. It can change it for the better or for the worse. If you slump and do this, in a few minutes, your energetic signature will be one of depression or apathy. But if you pull your spine up, as if there's a string, so that you're straight and you're tall, opens all of your energy centers in your body, around all of your organs, lift your chin, pull your shoulders back and down, it opens your heart, opens up your heart space, let your heart have more freedom. You can have more breath. Lift up your diaphragm, take a few deep breaths. And even if you force yourself to smile, this is scientifically proven. Even if you just need to tape your cheeks back, it will still release chemicals from your brain that calm you. Like, they've done all these studies. There's amazing studies from the HeartMath Institute that I would encourage you, like on a day you're depressed, just go look at them. Just go and look at them. So. What time is it? Maybe we should pause for lunch before we do this.
11:36.
Well, how about, if you have any questions up to this point that we could answer, we do a short question session and then we'll let you guys eat lunch. So, I know we just threw that at you all of a sudden, so.
A lot of information.
It is a lot of information.
It's interesting, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an aspect. I don't know if the scientific aspect is something that very many people know, because some of this study is actually fairly new. The HeartMath Institute isn't even that old. But this information was stuff that I gleaned from hundreds of podcasters, scientists who do this kind of work. And I just took what resonated with me, what worked for me, and implemented it. Because again, words don't teach. I can tell you exactly what to do, how to do it. Until you do it, you won't know it. You won't understand how profoundly it will affect you until you've actually tried a little bit of it. And you don't have to try all of it. I tried everything, because I'm just crazy like that. So.
The only thing I have a problem, not even a problem, but.
A perspective.
You know, we always, as women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we have to respond to the husband and the
Right.
children. And it's like, oh no, I've made them unhappy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that causes a certain amount of stress.
Yes.
And, you know, and it's like, is that okay to put our own feeling first before that of our?
So what I would say to that, because that is part of when I was learning this, that I personally struggled with. So I appreciate that you brought that up, because that is difficult, because we are taught to put the needs of others before ourselves. And when you have a child, you have to. That baby, if you just leave it there, it's not going to live. And as women, we're receivers, and then we're nurturers. Our energy comes back out as nurturing. That's what's natural. And so what I would say is alchemy, all chemical, you have to create a balance where it can't be you never consider yourself, and it can't be you never consider them. But you have to learn. And I think the more that you try to be in that loving space, and you within yourself, and you honor the feelings that you have, and by honor, we'll go over a little bit more about how to work with some of that, but one of the things that I did was I allowed myself to cry. I honored my feelings by feeling them. It wasn't even about me, I'm upset with my partner. It wasn't even about having a conversation with him. It was about honoring my feelings, allowing myself to feel my feelings, to identify them, understand them, and just by doing that bit of honoring, respecting myself enough to take 5 minutes and sit with an uncomfortable emotion that was coming up. Because they stay in your body as wounds. They don't leave your body. If you push them down, they're staying there. And they're going to stay there until you see them. And just taking a few minutes to sit with my body and allow those feelings to come up. In every emotion, God made them as our best friends and indicators of the direction that we should go on purpose. If we honor them and sit with them, He put in them, I call them emotional bubbles, wisdom. What you are suppressing is the wisdom that would be there to help you to balance every situation. Because if you can balance you, and that's what leaving you, and your heart is balanced, that's also what comes back. So honestly, it really isn't even what I discovered is it wasn't even me about me saying no to someone else, as it was about me honoring my emotional responses, feeling them, recognizing them, naming them, and then I could choose. Do I want to say no? Or does it benefit me to say yes? But just taking that 5 second, that 10 second, 20, so whatever long it takes you to process it, it gets faster as you go. But just honoring yourself enough to know that God gave you emotions on purpose and that yours should be looked at too, not just theirs, not just yours. Balance. That's what I would say. Because if you're never, I was so far out of balance because I never listened to myself. I suppressed most of what I felt until I was about 50. And then I cried for months, literally. I literally wore sunglasses everywhere because when I decided that I was going to just do this, I cried all the time. I literally cried I'd be walking down Walmart just streaming. I'd be driving. Someone's like, are you crying again? Yes, I am. Yeah, all of it. The barn burning down. Dad, I suppressed everything that was an emotion. All of it. That's how I got sick. So, and then of course, I'm all in. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to try everything I can find. I'm going to take every avenue that there is. That's just my personality. And so, yeah, I cried for months. I waited till I was 50 to feel anything. I had no honor for my own emotions, no boundaries, no respect. That's the truth.
I think another way to answer your question is if, it's not saying you can't do things for others and you shouldn't do things for others, but you want to honor yourself too. So if there's something you want to do, don't always
Acquiesce all
yes.
the time.
Yes.
Verbalize, even if it's just a verbalization. Well, I'd really
Or-
like to go eat at this because I was just really thinking about this meal. That person might acquiesce, and it might be the best meal. Or you might say, I just really want to go there. And you can say, okay, that's fine, but maybe next time we can go there. You have allowed that emotion to have some say. You've allowed yourself some space to, I'm important as well. You're important to me, and I'm important as well.
Be an individual or, okay, yeah, I'm going to go get my hair cut, and then I'd be happy to watch your kids, but I'm not going to cancel my haircut.
Yeah. It's about give and take, but from a place of a little more balance within you. That's really what you're wanting to achieve, is more balance within you. More balance of love. For me, I was just really out of balance of loving myself. Now, if you weren't in my life, I had no problem saying no to you. But if I loved you, it was personal relationships I really struggled with.
Or how about when you're the yes person and you finally
That-
say no and they don't know
People
how
please.
you
They're
feel
shy.
back?
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
shy.
you talk
They're
about the
shy.
temper tantrums. Oh my gosh. Yes, goodness.
Yes.
It was the school at Manning. It was so funny. I had kids and, that were children at these softball, baseball games, and all I could think is there are surely people that want to have kids that could be taking the gate money, And I would do that all the time, and something came up for a basketball game where somebody had given us tickets to go down to the Omaha Playhouse and see the Christmas Carol. I said, I can't do the gate. I said, what?
What do we
It was just like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I don't know, but you've got to
You'll
something
figure it out.
because,
And they will.
I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
But people catch on when you're the yes person all the
Oh
time.
yes, definitely. If you were in my life and I cared about you, I was a people pleaser. Well, the first time I heard that, I was like, I don't do that. And then I was listening, I was like, oh, I totally do that. Gosh. Guilty as charged. And I think it's one where we're kind of taught to be a little bit. And And I'm
it's
probably,
natural.
it's natural. Yeah, as a receptive energy, it's natural. And we are doers. We know where everyone's shoes are. We know where the car keys are. We know where he left his wallet. I mean, seriously, yeah, I walked by it, it's over there. Like, you didn't put it over there. But I mean, it's just part of who we are. And I think it's beautiful. But there, again, if there's no balance and you're not considering yourself, then you're suppressing yourself. And that's not healthy because, like I said, that wisdom that God put within our emotions, and I call them emotional bubbles because they'll just out of the blue just start coming up, especially once you tell them it's okay for them to come up. And I call them little bubbles. They're little bubbles of wisdom. Your emotions are your friends. They're just like, hey, you should look at us.
That's one thing about your dad, he said, I've been blessed to be married to two women that always told me what was on their mind.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blessing and a curse.
That's good. See, you already are not suppressing your emotions.
That's right.
Well, she's my stepdaughter, but I love her like my own. Her mom died, and then I married her dad,
How did you survive? She thought I was gonna be the hardest one to get along with, and
Yeah,
it turned
I
out I was
thought-
the easiest.
she was the oldest, and I thought, oh man, she's gonna be tough, she's not gonna want me in the house. She was so glad.
Well, she had to take over that position
Yeah.
because you were
And
the
Dad
oldest.
never made me quit anything. I mean, I was at school by 7.
Yeah.
And had basketball after school, play practice. Never once did he say, you need to stay home and help me.
No.
He never
Right,
once told me I
right.
needed to do that.
John did, but your dad didn't.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my brother and I are quite opposites.
Mhm.
Just even like socially, he's
Yeah.
very reserved.
I think that's pretty often, right? Pretty
He's
like
very
often
reserved.
that's
Mhm.
God gives us different children so that we can learn different things. I think
That's right.
they're my greatest teachers. I know that the kids,
Yeah, I agree.
little 3D teachers.
Right? Oh, yeah.
And it is.
I'm gonna go through this kind of fast so that we can get through it, not keep you guys here forever, and get to the stuff of more about the body. Okay, relationships. So in this life, from your first breath until your last, you are the person in the 3D world that you are going to spend every second with. You're the person who will be present through every triumph and every trial. You're the one who will be present through every tear. You'll be the only one entirely aware of your feelings and the full range of your emotions.
Except for God.
You are I said in the 3D.
Oh,
It says
okay.
in the 3D. In the 3D realm. And you're 99.99% God, you can't get away from that. You don't actually have a choice. You are your best friend or worst enemy. And I love a quote by David Goggins. He says, it's you against you. And in the same thought, it's you for you. And that only depends on how you are treating yourself. No one is in a better position to love you, cheer for you, hold you, or hurt you. You are the one. You simply must look after your heart and your mind because they're your responsibility. The most challenging relationship to balance is between your head and your heart. And I think those are on there, head and heart. So the alignment between your head and the heart is what I would call temperance. The heart makes very quick conclusions. In fact, sometimes before the person's even done talking, you start to have or you're done talking to yourself or berating yourself, your heart's already having an emotional response to it. And the brain in your heart actually keeps a memory of every emotion that you've ever had, just like the brain in your head keeps memories. And it stores emotion. So when you've had an emotion that you've suppressed over time, it's coming back up from the memories in your heart so that you can look at that emotion again to get the wisdom that God has put within those emotions to make your life better, to improve your life. So if you live too much in your heart, too much in your emotions, you're probably going to be a little fickle, picking the same type of friend that doesn't treat you well, the same type of behaviors that don't treat you well, that's doing to yourself. And if you're too much in your head, you're going to be cold and a little bit emotionally chilly, and unavailable. So my pattern, of course, was I was head over heart. I told it to be quiet most of the time. I had this, I've got this. I ran in logic, and that was really about it. So what you really are wanting to do is just check in with yourself. How do I show up? Do I show up more in alignment with my head or my heart? And which one is difficult for me to hear? Which one is difficult for me to balance with? Because I had to spend time asking myself, how do I feel about this? Like literally, the silliest things. Like someone would say, where do you want to go to dinner? And my goal was to actually ask myself every decision how I feel. I literally couldn't say. I literally didn't know how I felt about whatever the thing was, whether it's going to dinner, where do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Where do you want to go? Because my decision was based on their answer,
Yeah.
not on anything. So I had to actually find out who I was in there. Like that was hard work for me. Because that wasn't the way that I operated. That's not how I ran my life. I ran my life in a very masculine type of energy. It was all outgoing. I was a competitor. I ran the whole bit. Like I was the head of business, still am. But I lived on my masculine energy because that is a lot of what was required for me to be good at what I did. And I didn't know it was my pattern. I didn't know any different. I didn't know that was causing problems for me. So a lot of times, the more masculine energy does go along with the ego. And I'm not saying ego good or bad at all. Your ego is necessary. Your ego wants to move you away from things that are painful and towards things that are more pleasurable. Like, it doesn't want you to run your car into a tree. That's good. It's keeping you alive. It says, don't touch that hot stove. So your ego is very necessary for us to live on the planet and not kill ourselves unduly. And it will give you some intuitive hits, like, we've done that before, that's bad. But it also doesn't take emotional things into consideration. So it really is about balancing that feminine, and we all have feminine and masculine energies within us, and we have to operate from both of them and to balance those. So balancing the ego and the mind with the heart and the internal knowing, and also your promptings from the spirit are going to come more through your heart space, more through because the energetic signature is coming back in response to what's going out from your heart, so it's coming back to your heart. So a lot of your interactions with the Holy Spirit are going to come through that heart space. So the more that you're in tune with that, and then using the mind to logically work through what's being brought to you, and how you're responding to life, if you can learn to balance those things and recognize which way you show up and then work with the other, it will really help to improve your life. And then the last thing that I wanted to say on that is, like, in reference to things like falling in love, like we all remember falling in love like with our partner or whatever. And what I would challenge you to do is to fall in love with you in that way. Because when you fall in love, and especially in that newness of love, you really have a desire to be good for that person, to respect that person, to love that person. And that's really what we need to reparent ourselves into doing. Because as we show up in a way that we are loving ourselves, that's what's going out and that's what will come back. And what we give out, we will receive back from other people. And also, the quality of the love we get out will be better. And we're called to love each other. And so I think that that's a really important aspect, to learn to balance whichever of the part aspect of you maybe is out of balance, because the goal is to love each other. Okay, so be your best friend. And then we're not going to go a long time into the others, because I want to kind of skip forward to some of the other stuff we want to do, but I'm going to read this quote. And the others just meaning all of the other relationships in your life that are not with you. The most important one I wanted to deal with today was one with you, because it's one I think as women we set aside too much. Do people love you for who you are or what you do? This is uncomfortable to consider. People loving us for who we are feels more real, genuine, caring, empathetic, and robust. It feels like we're less fickle and more difficult to lose. On the other hand, people loving us for what we do feels transactional and transient. The love we receive becomes contingent on what achievements or successes we can offer in return. And the obvious fear is that if there came a point where we no longer had anything to offer in return, would our love be taken away? So here's an even more uncomfortable question. Do you love you for who you are or what you do? You see, we want the world to love us for who we are, a balanced, caring view of our true nature or our true value, independent of our accomplishments. Meanwhile, our own self-worth is largely determined by what we do. If we fall short, even though we know that we tried our best, we castigate ourselves for being insufficient, unworthy creatures. So we want the world to show up for us in a way that we are often not prepared to show up for ourselves. I think that's Chris Williamson. He does relationship podcasts and talks and stuff, and I just love that. And that last part was me, 1,000%. So love is required to thrive as humans. And it's actually stated to be third, oxygen being first, second being water, third being love, fourth being food, and fifth being sleep. So I'm going to tell you very briefly a study that was done here in America in the 50s. They took 40 babies, infants, and they put 20 in one room and 20 in another room, and they observed them. And 20 of the babies were given love and coddling and interaction, made eye contact with, held and talked to. And the other 20 were given no interaction, no eye contact, no nothing during their care sessions. And the care sessions were of an equal amount. They had the same diet protocol, same care. The 20 that were loved thrived. All 20 of the ones that weren't died.
Wow. Makes sense.
Died. They died. They called it failing to thrive.
Yeah.
I can't even believe that was done. So they lost 11 within 24 hours, and they began profound. They just died. There was nothing physically wrong with them. All of their blood levels were the same as the other babies, as the well babies. I mean, this is profound. They died, 11 of them died on one day. So they immediately tried to pour love into the 9 babies. All 9 of them died.
Too late.
It was
Whose
too late.
babies were those?
That's what I said. That's what I said. And I only tell that story to say we have to have love. That's an ingredient that we cannot go without. We just can't.
Study department for a while.
So,
That, we never get over that either.
no, that's right.
Because
Yes.
God is love.
Yep. So spend the next few days listening to what and how people in your life speak to you. Observe and take notes here. Because they are mirroring to you in a way that you talk to yourself. So your relationships are a mirror of how you show up for you. Investigate, unless you already know. And then start showing up differently for you. And my biggest suggestion is don't necessarily try to change other people, change how you're showing up for you first. And then you may have to set up some boundaries as you begin to respect your feelings more. And then they aren't caught up with where you're feeling. You can very kindly say, I don't talk to myself that way. I would appreciate it if you don't. I'm learning to love and respect myself more. And honestly, just saying that changes the relationship dramatically, actually. Usually the first time that you do it. But, yeah. So, part of the reason that this is really important is because verbal attacks, and by I mean verbal, I just mean negative words when offered from someone else to you. The body perceives those as a threat, and it puts the body in a defensive position, which means you're going to go into stress. Even if you don't think you're having a response to it, your body is, because your cells are listening to that person and they feel attacked. So they're going to go, even if you are disconnected from your heart enough that you think you aren't experiencing it, know that your cells are. And what results? The result is a layer of fat that the body lays down creating as a physical barrier between your heart and the threat. So this can often be when I work with people And they said, well, I've been on your stuff now for 2 or 3 months and I really haven't lost very much weight. And I said, then you probably need spiritual counseling. Let's talk about how you talk to yourself and how other people talk to you. And that's usually what unlocks it for them. So this is the root of dis-ease. A lot of times. Dis-ease is the heart left unresolved over time, turns into disease. That's why when I talk about the brain in your heart and how it stores emotional memory, every feeling that you've ever had that is unresolved is still there.
You know that?
So no one has perfect relationships. I mean, that's just, we came here to learn and to grow, and our relationships are the vehicle through which a lot of our growth and things are going to happen. And part of that is because they're going to mirror to you the way you're showing up for yourself. So as you begin to change, you may have to change your responses to other people, but if they don't acquiesce, like I said, you will need to respond in a kind way, but you may have to put up some boundaries. And one of the things that I did before I would interact with someone, once I started learning this, that really helped me, before I knew I would interact with them, I would say this. So I love mantras. I will love me. My words will love me. I will love me. My words will love me. I will love them. My words will love them. I will love them. My words will love them. Because I wanted to reprogram my problems. So someone that I had difficult interactions with, before I knew I was going to see them, I would just repeat that over and over and over and over. And I would actually verbalize it because that helped me. And one of the beautiful things is once you start doing this, loving yourself is unbelievably attractive. People will ask you, what is different? Like, what are you doing? Like, they actually want to know, because you are beginning, when you show up differently for you, you show up differently. So, and my problem was I was just an overgiver. And I was giving my energy away and I was exhausted, so. All right, let's start talking about the body. Sleep, because for me this was the hardest one, so for me it's the most important one. This is the most underrated love language in America. Nothing says I love you to your body. So sleep can't be replaced. You can supplement other things, like, you can get water bottles almost anywhere for your other needs. You can supplement your food, your diet, but you can't just go down to Walmart and get a 6-pack of 10 hours of sleep. I wish you could. I get a lot done. So if you aren't, what is this? Dreaming.
You said that
I
earlier.
did say that. I don't know why that's not on here. I missed that. Dreaming. If you are not dreaming, then you aren't
So I
spending
said I
enough
am.
time in REM sleep.
I haven't slept in years.
Probably, yeah. Women need 8 to 10 hours. Men need 6 to 8 hours. And
Some
yeah.
need less.
8 to 10 and 6 to 8.
Yeah, men, so a woman, if you think about it, and especially while we're cycling, I require less sleep now, actually, that I've gone through menopause.
Me too.
I do.
Yeah.
6,
I
7
used to
hours
sleep
is
a
about
lot.
good.
And sleep good.
So, but in a woman's body, what happens in 1 month in a woman's body
That's true.
is the same thing that happens in a man's body in a year.
Dear
The
Lord.
changes. The changes in their body take 1 year. We do it every month, every 28 days. And so the need for us to have more sleep is on a scientific level is obvious. So, plus we take care of everything.
Yeah.
So the most important things to getting to good sleep are routine, set a wake and sleep time, and get your body used to it. Because your body is going to produce chemicals. If you do something for 3 days, it will begin to produce chemicals at those times that complement what you're doing. So if you want to sleep, if you at least set a bedtime that's the same every night, even if you adjust when you wake up, that's actually more beneficial than adjusting your wake time.
That can't happen with my females
Well,
working throughout the night.
You just have to do as best you can. I know we have the same problem this time of
Yeah.
year. Your body, so those hormones that are start to be produced within 30 minutes, usually within 30 minutes of when you normally do something, whether it's a meal, whether it's sleeping, your hormones are going to start kicking off, because your brain is a recording of everything that you've done, and it takes 72 hours for it to begin a routine of a new recording or new, and it just says, okay, we should be getting ready for this. Okay, we should be getting ready for that. We should be getting ready for this. So routine is really, really important. It will actually help a lot of the insomnia and stuff like that, which is the inability to fall asleep or stay asleep. Apnea, this is a health risk. If you or someone you know snores and then does that and does that, that is a serious health risk. That is so bad for your heart. I cannot tell you, they never hit REM sleep. They cannot hit REM sleep. They are heading very quickly to a bad place. Get them help. Get them help them to get a breathing machine, something, because sleep apnea is actually one of the most dangerous things that you can have going on in your body for your heart. And you don't repair anything. Nothing
Nick has
repairs.
sleep-
It's funny because I thought about that when I slept the first night for 10 hours. The next day, someone was like, "What is with you?" I'm like, "I feel good." She's like, "You need to just stop." So a couple of hacks, if you haven't gotten enough sleep or you don't sleep, or you have to have less sleep on a night, eat raw food or less food. Because the thing that takes the most energy that you do in a day is digestion. Takes more of your energy. Almost 70% of your energy is used in digestion. So eat less food or raw food, because raw food is easier to get the nutrients from without your body having to work at it.
Now, I do both of those faithfully.
Yeah,
The only
avoid
thing is, I do protein because they say that I'm low on protein.
Hey,
Hi, Leah.
Well, this is just if you are not going to get enough sleep or haven't gotten enough sleep.
Right, yeah.
Avoid sugar and wheat because they're both terrible for you, first of all.
Yeah.
But they raise your glucose levels really high, and they keep, because there's not usually enough insulin that can be produced from, if you eat one slice of bread or 2 tablespoons of sugar, your body actually can't produce enough insulin to then counteract and use that glucose. Then you're going to be tired. You're going to be tired for the rest of the day. So avoid sugar and wheat if you know you're not going to get enough sleep or if you haven't. 5-minute meditation. So sit down for 5 minutes and I just say, Lord, I need some energy. And then I visualize, because in a visualization helps me to stay focused. That's what meditation is singular focus. And I visualize Him sending me energy down through my body. And in 5 minutes, you will feel like a new person. You can't get what you don't ask for, but you can get anything that you ask for that is in alignment with what He wants you to have. And when did He not want you to have more energy if you were tired?
You receive not because you ask not.
That's right. That's right. So that's a hack. Let's talk circadian rhythm. Let me get you.
Oh, yeah, can you grab her book and
Yeah,
give her to
where
her?
she's at. So your body has rhythms of when it gets ready for you to do things, or you, just like we were talking, establishing a routine. It's going to start sending hormones to do the routine. So the more that you can keep a routine on all things, great. The more you can complement your natural routine in your body, great. So assimilation happens between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. And this is when the nutrition you've taken in is distributed, your body's repaired, regenerated, growth hormones come up to fix things, grow things, re-energize the cells. This is when your body is ready. This is when you actually need to sleep. Because you need to be asleep for these things to happen proficiently. The next cycle is elimination. It's from 4 a.m. to noon. And this is when your body flushes, your lymphatic system drains, your toxins are removed. So at this time, water, water, water. This is the most important thing. This is the time of day you need the most water. If you can eat nothing or close to nothing, you will be better off. Breakfast is the best meal to skip because it stops elimination. It helps it. So a lot of times your body, if you eat breakfast and then you wait a couple hours and you eat lunch, your body will never finish flushing itself because it won't have had the time. It has to stop. The minute calories are introduced to the body and the body has to break down food, your energy turns to that task. So it stops elimination. So there's a really good thing to know. If you aren't well, don't eat until noon. Accumulation. This is from noon to 8. This is my favorite part. This is eating. This when you eat. If you can eat the majority of the food you're going to take in that day between noon and 8, this is when your body is ready for it. The hormones are ready. The enzymes are ready. They've stopped elimination. You're good to go. It's go. Stop an hour before you go to sleep. Whatever your regular bedtime is, stop eating. Because your body will not produce melatonin until it is without calories for an hour. And it takes 30 minutes after melatonin hits your system for you to go to sleep.
I eat when I can't sleep.
That might not help.
That's probably not
That's
right.
probably
My husband's
not
like,
healthy.
you're up eating again, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. I don't eat a lot, so. I know you don't. I can go for I can't go a whole 24 hours. I haven't done it yet. I'm working my way there. I've made it.
You
to
actually
5 o'clock.
can. It's not that hard, and it resets a lot of things in the system that are amazing. We'll talk about after
Yeah, I gotta-
autophagy.
I find the more I
after.
eat, the more my body wants it, so then I gotta war back again. The
Oh,
more I eat, the
But I
more it
can't
wants, and
sleep
I'll just
if I'm,
cut it
well,
back.
my stomach growls anyway, but.
hormones, are they making you me lazy and crazy?
Lazy and crazy.
And they sure will. So if that's a question you've ever had, like, why am I lazy? Why am I crazy? Or just not lazy, but why don't I have any energy? Why am I not motivated? And why do I just feel like anxiety and frustrated? Nothing bad is happening, but I'm just anxious. So your body is your walking chemical factory. Sleep-wake cycle, threats, feel good. They all come in response to words, thoughts, things that are happening around us, and all of them produce a chemical response. Like there's a thing that if you just say, I feel good, 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 I feel good for 1 minute, this is also a no sleep hack, it releases dopamine into your system. It's scientifically proven to release dopamine. Dopamine is the main thing that makes you feel like, whoa! Like that's the main hormone that makes you feel good. That's why sugar makes you feel good, because it releases dopamine when it hits the back of your tongue. But you can get that same hit by saying, I feel good, I feel good, I feel good, I feel good, or any form of positive word. You can pick up your own, make up your own positive mantra. So what happens if the body does not have enough raw materials to make your hormones? Down regulation.
What?
Down regulation. Your body starts to down regulate your hormones, which means it doesn't make them as well, and this causes suffering. So what happens to men? Their muscles get soft. They get soft. Their muscles get soft. They put on weight. They get moody. They get tired. Things down there aren't functioning well. Men are supposed to be able to, and I know this because Nike was our stallion, and I had him on herbs the majority of his the last decade and a half. He was 24 when he died, and he bred, and we had over 25 babies that year, the year that he died. He stopped breeding season in July, and he died in October of natural causes. So men should perfectly function down there until they die. We're actually meant to be able to do that. Men are meant to be able to do that. So if that functioning is dialed back, reproduction is the first thing to go when the body is in trouble. Because the body knows that they can't sustain life of a baby if it's not well. So reproduction will always be the first thing to go if the body is in trouble. So that's a sign. If your body's in trouble, it's not going to function there. And now we're going to talk a little bit about cholesterol. Cholesterol perfect level is 222. And that's a balance of both LDL and HDL. And there is no bad cholesterol. Cholesterol actually doesn't clog your veins. It actually is what makes them slick. So you actually need cholesterol in your bloodstream. Now, if you go to other countries where they pay for their people's health care, this is what you find. So one molecule of cholesterol is required to make one molecule of hormone. You don't have enough cholesterol in your bloodstream, down regulation. You don't make enough hormone. Simple math. 1 + 1 equals.
My cholesterol is like 124.
Oh, honey, no wonder you don't sleep. I want you to go home. I want you to get some coconut oil on the way home. I want you to drink it.
Drink what?
Coconut oil.
Yeah. I said just
so
quit checking my cholesterol, 'cause it's like milk.
Before low cholesterol or low fat, before low fat became a thing, did you know that Alzheimer's was not a word that meant anything?
Are you saying I'm going to have Alzheimer's?
No, look, you're on, honey, you're on the road. You were on track for it.
Yours,
100%. You are 100% on track for it.
Yeah.
That is a scary amount of cholesterol for you to have in
Mine
your
has
system.
been super low, like.
Oh,
forever.
and when have you not?
My-
When have you
our
slept
dad is
good?
like that, though.
So
He
your
had-
body has to
our
decide
dad had
which
low
hormones you
cholesterol.
get to have. and which ones you
Well,
don't.
don't have cholesterol.
Exactly, so it can't make your hormones. Yeah, that's why you're suffering. There, so two things that your body can use to utilize cholesterol from. One of them is fat. The other one is carbohydrates. Low carbohydrate is the next problem. You need a balance. Create a balance. Create a balance in all things. You need carbohydrates. Your liver can process carbohydrates into cholesterol up to 80% that you need in one day. So if your cholesterol level gets low, you're gonna want some starch because your body's like, hello.
And I don't eat a lot of bread.
No, not
I'm just
bread.
aware.
Not bread. Potatoes. Well, you can have bread. It has to, you just need to have spelt flour. So no GMO flour because it's literally killing America. That's why America's 54% of the people in America are obese. 70% of the young people can't even get into the military because they can't pass the physical test because they're obese. We couldn't go to war unless we did it, Call of Duty style on the couch with a controller. So, your brain hormone production, this is run by your hypothalamus. That's a master control center for most of the brain's body's hormone function. So it's sort of like the master computer. And what it does essentially is it reads your blood, monitors your blood, and then it calls for more of a hormone or it suppresses the production of a hormone, one or the other. The pineal gland, this is where your melatonin is produced. And if you have a sleep problem, I would suggest our brain product because it decalcifies the pineal gland.
Well, I'm gonna need it if cholesterol's gonna make me have Alzheimer's.
Yeah. So all the things that melatonin do for your body, sleep, body temperature, skin pigment, immune system, menstruation, metabolism. If you don't have melatonin in your system, these are the parts of your body, of your life that will probably suffer. It's also the seat of the third eye, has a crystalline structure in it. And it emits a frequency like a radio tower does. And this is actually one of the ways that we communicate with God is through this pineal gland crystalline structure, which is really amazing. And then the last one in your brain is a pituitary, and this is for growth and support. So any growth that's happening in your body, it's responsible for that. It is also a storage and distribution center for the hypothalamus. It's kind of like the Amazon center in your brain. So the needs of your brain. We did talk about this. Your brain needs cholesterol. 74% of your brain is made of fat. So here's a few books. The Cholesterol Myth, The Cholesterol Lie, and The Cholesterol Scam. These are all written by cardiovascular doctors. Those will tell you exactly what the lie is about cholesterol. So we're going to...
What's the other one? Myth?
Cholesterol Myth, Lie, and Scam. They're 3 different books.
Yeah.
You can read any of them. You can get them on Amazon even. So, knowing that your brain is made of cholesterol, I'm going to tell you why Alzheimer's happens scientifically. Your brain, we know what electric fences are, most of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got your T-post, right? You have a T-post? You got that little metal, or that little insulator.
And
That
with battery
insulates it from being grounded or shorted, right? So you got your fence running along here. So let's just say myelin is the form of cholesterol that the brain uses, that is produced in the body for the brain. That myelin is that insulator. It insulates your neural traffic. So it insulates the connection. It insulates the energy that's flowing there. So if you take out the myelin and that touches that post, what happens? Short. That's where that energy stops. So then you're like, trying to remember something. That myelin is gone so that you can access your memory. The first thing to go in your brain is your memory because your body doesn't need it to survive. It's going, and if you've already gotten to the place where you're starting to lose your memory or having a hard time recalling things, there's not enough cholesterol anywhere in your body to do proper functioning. But that's why Alzheimer's happens though, and it's why it happens later, because the brain is going to protect itself in as much as it can. It's going to rob every other area of your body. So usually the last thing to go is your brain. But if you're starting to have memory problems, it's a cholesterol problem first and a hormone problem second. That's the truth. So don't skip those foods that are high in omegas, fatty acids.
She's gonna have to drink.
And actually, I'm not going to go over the foods because you can read these at any time and you can
Yeah.
look them up. But what I will say is that there's 3 wise men. I want you to write this down on those lines. 3 wise men. Olive, avocado, coconut. Everything else in your house, throw away. If it's not organic, use those 3. Then when they're gone, only buy organic, because if it's not organic, they can put 15% olive oil in it and fill it with repurposed motor oil.
I just saw a thing, I've
Yeah.
been doing a lot of research
Oh,
and stuff.
so
and
many oil companies
the
right now are
oil-
getting in trouble for this.
The oil.
Only
is,
has to be 15%, and that is
Oh, yeah.
government.
Yeah.
15%.
The vegetable oils are horrible.
Yep.
Oh, they're so bad for you.
Vegetable oils,
They're so bad for
all
you.
of it.
Oh, yes, they're
Your body can't
terrible
even use them.
Right, so
So-
I've been doing some research.
Good
with
for
my
you.
husband and-
Well, see, your
You need
intuition
some
was
help.
telling you something about oil is needed.
So
Yeah.
what about avocado oil, a bad thing?
No good.
No,
Those
that's
are the
good.
3
Those are the
wise
good
men.
ones.
The 3 wise men.
Avocado
I'm not
oil?
going to tell you which ones not to use. I'm going to tell you which ones to use. And they are olive, avocado, and coconut. And you
Oils.
do need the 3 of them because they have different omegas in and stuff like that. And then the last thing on that section was just that we have herbs in our brain formula that support everything that has to go on, which is all of the hormones that have to be produced, cleaning of it, detoxifying of it, killing parasites that go beyond the blood-brain barrier cannot be done by a chemical, but they can be done by herbs. So, and that's part of the reason that warming yourself is so important, because parasites in your brain will make it crazy. They absolutely will.
So you
Uh-huh.
can blame something for it.
Yeah, so moving on to the thyroid, the thyroid's in your
What'd you
neck.
say? She said so does family.
Well, that's on a whole different plane, yes. They're there to trigger you so you can grow. And the neck wraps around the trachea. This is the main engine of your metabolism. This regulates your weight, gain or loss. It can go either way. Energy levels, brain fog, internal body temperature, nervousness, eye puffiness, stimulate appetite, digestion, nutrient absorption, especially into your bones. This is what takes it into your bones. Sweating. If you don't sweat, your thyroid is in trouble. You should sweat. I have a friend who...
It has to
had-
be like 200 degrees.
Oh
to
yeah,
get me to
I have a
sweat.
friend that's a farrier, and he had cancer, and the cancer was in his throat. And of course, the first thing I said was, "Oh, you don't speak your truth, huh?" Because whatever your emotional habit is, it's going to affect in an area of your body, and the throat, of course, that's where your voice box is. So he had throat cancer. I said, "Oh, so you need to start speaking your truth." Like on a spiritual plane, that's the truth of what he was going through. And anyway, he started on our herbs, and they were really worried for him. It was big, like you could see, it was huge, and had just woof. And he did really good. He went through. He's great. He's cancer free. But he went on our herbs, and he called me a week into it, and he said, "I'm sweating." And I was like, "It's hot." Yeah, I mean, that's hard work. And I've never sweat. I like, in your life? And he's like, yeah. I said, oh my gosh. No wonder you're sick. Sweating is how your body cleans itself. It's how it cleans so if you're not sweating, if you're not able to sweat, then your lymphatic system has to do everything. And that's very hard on the lymphatic system, and it's going to get clogged, and then you're going to have problems. And you have lymph nodes. And that's that are in your throat. And these are the main ones for your brain.
I've had one lymph node removed already.
So, he said, I had to go buy deodorant for the first time in my life. He's 50.
And a man.
That's right. And he works outside. He said, well, yeah, I sweat. It was like 100, but I've never
I
stank.
know. Need to sweat.
Heart rate, blood pressure, breath rate. Back to
Oh,
the
yeah,
sweating,
okay.
from the sweating. Heart rate, breath rate, contraction muscle, or contraction strength of the cardiovascular system. Everything that has to do with the heart and its function has its seat with these thyroid hormones. So if you have anything or any concerns there, it has to do with your thyroid function. Your DNA is upregulated and downregulated by your hormones in your thyroid. So, just being youthful, looking young, people who aren't aging, their thyroid's working well. So your thyroid measures the nutrient value and controls how well you are remade based on the availability of those your nutrition. So hypothyroid is low, T4 and T3 are low, and so that's slow. Everything is slow, and it's going to eventually result in Hashimoto's and autoimmune. That's what's going to happen. Hyperthyroid is when it's too fast, and then your immune dysfunction turns into Graves' disease, which is when you can't sleep. And you also have trouble like maintaining muscle mass, maintaining weight, not just like how much fat you have, but actual weight. So a few essential things to know are that iodine is absolutely required to make T3 and T4. The 3 and 4 is actually 3 molecules of iodine or 4 molecules of iodine. And the easiest way to get these are either the superfood, so like a superfood like kelp, and good salt, Baja Gold salt or Celtic salt. They have natural iodine and lots of it. And another thing about salt, the American diet suggests you have 1/3 of the salt that your body absolutely requires. 1/3. So however much salt you're taking in, triple it at least. And I'm not talking about white table. Do not use white
That is
table
no
salt.
problem.
The next time it snows, put that on your driveway.
My husband-
Sodium chloride is bad for you.
My husband won't eat salt because they tell him it's a bit, that's why his blood pressure's so high.
His blood pressure, now if you eat white table salt, they're right.
Yeah.
They're absolutely right, because sodium chloride is bad for you. That's the only thing left in that salt. It's really easy. It doesn't clump. It doesn't have. You don't have to worry about moisture balance or anything like that. Good salt is going to be a little bit moist. It's going to carry moisture, but it's the iodine. Yeah, and there's not enough bioavailable nutrition in it. So when I make my water bottle, I take 1/8 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/8 to 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I make sure my blood is alkaline and I'm well salted. And I drink 2 or 3 of those a day. But every day, I make it every day. I don't drink water that doesn't have minerals in it for my body. I want that thyroid mineral banging all the time.
Say that again.
So,
I take, so I'll make a bottle of water about that size. And in that size, I use about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then I don't have to worry about what I eat or what I consume because I'm keeping that blood alkaline all the time. I'm keeping that microbiome
But that's
strong
not
and
good
going.
salt, though. You're talking
good salt. And
Baja
those
Gold is
salt,
the best.
those
You're gonna send
Baja
me that
Gold
list
is the
then.
best.
Baja Gold.
Baja Gold. And it's on my Amazon list that I'll text you. So that you
So-
can see what it is.
So you had Jenny starting to do that.
Yeah.
And
Because she's
she-
had allergies.
Exactly, and she is seeing a difference.
Okay, so the reason that allergies are a thing, your allergies begin in your stomach, in your microbiome in your stomach. And so what happens is the mucosa wall isn't good enough and your good bacteria are not thriving. What the body does in response to that, because you're going to start having leaky gut, things are going to start getting out through your intestinal wall. Your stomach lining, it's not, like the wall is not very thick.
That just sounds.
And they just crawl out. If you're bloated, you have leaky gut, if you have bloating here. So what happens, the minute that your mucosa wall gets in trouble, gets to a certain place, immediately the body releases histamine because it needs to counteract those little bad guys. So that comes out through your bloodstream. That starts your nose running immediately, like within seconds. I can drink creamer that is synthetic, that, you know, like the non-dairy creamer. Oh, so that's one of the worst things you can do for yourself. I did love it though. At least it had like sugar in it too. I wasn't very smart then. I would cough immediately and have mucus. I could take one sip and in 10 seconds, my body was already like, that's gonna be a problem. And it's acidic, coffee's acidic. So if you drink coffee, which I love, which I love, so I have a thing that I made that's called chaga, and I put it in it, and it has things, it will make the pH of it negative, and it will feed your microbiome. Because those are the two things you want to do. Anything you put in, if you're going to do something acidic, just counteract it. Just be smarter. Just be smart enough to be in alignment with what your body needs. That's really, just have to know. Just empower yourself. So the neatest thing about changing to the remineralizing and the other thing is, and I didn't even know this would happen, all the plaque in my teeth just fell off within a month. Just gone.
Yeah.
Because that plaque, the only reason that plaque is there is because the good microbiome in my mouth, I was killing it twice a day. So it couldn't clear my mouth out. It couldn't protect my teeth and the roots of my teeth. My teeth stopped bleeding. My teeth have bled ever since I've ever can remember. Wheat kills your microbiome. It is absolutely one of the worst things. Celiac disease, what that is, and it creates acid in your system, and bloating and farting and all that stuff. But what it does, the gluten molecule is actually pretty sharp. Like, it's not smooth, like they should be, like our molecules should be that we're putting into our body. But it will just go along and slice off the cilia. And the cilia are the little fingers that reach down and they push your food along, and they take out nutrition and water as they do it. Celiac disease is where that all gets sliced off. You cannot take in nutrition. You do take in toxins because you've got all these bleeds all over your body where there should be cilia, and now they're gone because it's just been razored off. And like, you can go septic and die. Like, wheat is bad for you. GMO wheat is bad. It is the worst thing they've ever done to us. Except for maybe the wheat.
Okay,
GMO wheat.
So,
all wheat.
I was having
Well,
trouble.
wheat as you know it,
Spelt.
unless it says.
On my list is spelt bread and spelt flour, and it is a natural form of wheat that does not have the GMO
Because it's the
molecule.
ancient wheat.
Because it's ancient. Do you know that the government actually sells all this GMO wheat? They have the seeds and they sell it. You're not allowed to replant it after your harvest. It's against the law to replant it. They will come and seize your things. Because in 3 cycles, it will go back to natural. Because life is so intelligent that it will retrace its steps and become natural again, and they can't have that. We're not going to go any further onto that.
I can tell you something too. So I had my GI tract. I was having heartburn and diarrhea and stuff, and I went to the doctor, and they did a upper lower GI, and then he called me in to talk to me, and he says, "So do you have an allergy to wheat?" And I said, "I don't know. You're the doctor." And he says, "Well, because all your cilia are cut off."
Imagine that.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to move on to, the last thing I'm going to tell you, because this is really interesting. Rice, if you cook it with a tablespoon of coconut oil, per 1 cup of coconut oil, 1 tablespoon of, 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of tablespoon, just mix it up.
Wait a minute. 1 cup
Before-
of rice, 1
1 tablespoon of coconut oil.
tablespoon.
1 tablespoon of coconut oil. If you'll do that ratio, it goes into those rice grains, and it slows down absorption, and it actually will draw the glucose level down
Interesting.
as it digests. Yeah, that's like a really cool hack. Makes rice extremely good for you. Okay, adrenals. They sit right over the kidneys, and they produce cortisol, which is required for fight or flight. If you need to, fight the bear, you're going to need cortisol. It also breaks down fat, proteins, and glucose. So cortisol does a lot of really great things for us besides make us anxious. And then they also produce insulin, and this takes glucose into the cell so that you can burn it as energy. So to feel good, you have to have insulin. Okay, so adrenals. They sit over the kidneys. They produce cortisol, insulin, androgen, and the body uses this for testosterone and estrogen. So this is a precursor. So if your adrenals are in trouble, you're not going to produce either testosterone or estrogen. So what happens when that happens? When you get adrenal fatigue, which is an overdispensing of cortisol usually, which is usually from too much stress, whether it is actual physical stress. It doesn't have to be emotional stress, but it can be. So anything that stresses your body too much for too long will dispense too much cortisol. And an overconsumption of sugar also will do the same thing. So if you have a sugar craving, honey, because it won't do that, because the glucose will go in very slowly. Sugar is actually the leading cause of depression. There's a book called Sugar Blues that definitely you should read if you have sugar cravings. GMO wheat is actually worse. It's actually worse. And actually, even if you aren't a person that's stressed and you don't overwork, just those 2 things will cause you adrenal fatigue. They will put your adrenals out of balance, and you won't have testosterone or estrogen in your system. So the best, I'll let you guys look at the foods. Again, fat and salt are necessary. You have to have fat and salt for them to make their things. And another thing, when you eat meat, eat the fat.
Oh, God.
Animals store their nutrients in their fat.
I can't. I can't do it.
Well, you don't have to, just eat more
I'll
coconut
have
oil.
Alzheimer's.
But the fat is actually really good for you and it helps to balance the
That just
protein
makes
going
me
into your
sick
body.
when somebody-
And fat doesn't make you fat. Fat actually,
I
if
know,
you
but
don't
the
have
thought
enough
of
fat
it-
in your system and your hypothalamus is going through and is saying, there's not enough fat,
I
we better
can't
store
take
some
it.
fat.
I
We're
can't
in
do it.
a famine. There's a shortage of fat. We better store some fat. So not having enough fat in your bloodstream causes your body
only
to
time
store
I'll-
fat.
So there was,
Not having enough
Chocolate all over
fat,
it.
like good oil in your bloodstream, causes your body to go into scarcity mode and store fat. You actually, this low fat diet will cause you to get fatter, not skinnier.
that's right.
It's actually really, really bad for you. And then herbs
Yeah,
for the
but-
adrenals are in
I
our
can't
hormone
eat the
balancer
fat.
and our sleep science. So you actually need both to get your adrenals set right. You have to have the hormone balance for what it takes during the
I'll
day
take my
and the
chance.
sleep science for evening. And then let's move on to females. Are we all kind of past the regular cycling here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
long
okay.
ago.
Well, I won't go into a lot about that then, because you guys, you've already been through it. I mean, you would recognize them.
Yeah.
So now are we on summer, fall, and winter?
Yeah, so that's actually about the cycles.
Oh.
And so we'll just skip that and go to
Menopause?
menopause. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the first word I would say about menopause is balance, and the next one is testosterone. So one of the really interesting, get that taken care of and everything else will get really easy. So when the uterus stops functioning, stops regular cycling, testosterone comes forward to support all of the things that the uterus was supporting, which are metabolism, bone density, muscle strength and maintenance, endurance, motivation, and mood. Do any of those sound like something that dialed back when you started menopause?
Okay, so what was the?
Maybe
The
my
first one's
husband is
metabolism,
Metabolism, okay, I got the other one, mood.
Yep.
way worse than me.
and the last one is mood. And those are just the main ones. There's a lot of other things. So, what I found was, and I didn't know, and it actually took me a lot of research to find the information, is that testosterone is what the body uses to replace the estrogen and progesterone. And we do use some of testosterone during our cycling. Like right before you ovulate, testosterone comes forward and it kicks your ovulation over. And that's why you feel outgoing and all, it brings on masculine energy. It is actually what propels the majority of the masculine energy. So when you go through menopause, because the testosterone is easy for the body to produce, that comes forward to make up for the imbalance in hormones that you're no longer creating because your uterus isn't filling and then emptying and filling and emptying, which the uterus and the fallopian tubes make a lot of those hormones. And I had more issues with menopause because I had my tubes tied. So after your tubes are tied, then those hormones that travel down the fallopian tubes and into the uterus can't. So if you know someone who's had their tubes tied, then they actually need to support testosterone more because they're not going to be able to produce the other ones.
They need them untied.
Well, they couldn't keep me from having babies, no matter what they gave me. So, microbiome. We've talked a lot about a microbiome.
Next time, please put your numbers on the
I
pages.
know, right? I just took 2 pages at once. Do you guys want me to go further into microbiome, or I can tell you that when there's too many bad, unfriendly bacteria because your mucosa wall and the balance of pH is bad, anxiety, fatigue, depression, brain fog, migraines, autism. This is the seed of autism for a lot of people. ADHD, cross signaling, which is it causes the brain to say that you're hungry when you're not, and when it needs nutrition, it doesn't tell you that you're hungry. So it's called cross signaling because, well, they're unfriendly. They go up there and they mess everything up. It actually stops a lot of the reading of the blood. And then it also creates dry eyes, sinusitis, and allergies. Pain in the joints, arthritis, leaky gut, reflux, gas, intestinal discomfort like diverticulosis, polyps, Crohn's disease, which is not sleeping, water retention, and weight gain. A lot of these can be fixed just by addressing the pH in your stomach and salt and baking soda A lot of that stuff can be fixed. And it starts in the mouth. So besides the water, the salt and the baking soda that I put in the water, lemon and lime are great for your pH. And they kill bad bacteria. And even though they go in as an acid, the minute they hit your stomach acid, they turn into an alkaline. And they actually benefit the alkaline environment, and they help your liver and kidneys to clean out. And in a month of taking just 1 lemon and 1 lime, you can go from liver failure to fine.
So do you put that in water?
All right, let's talk about eating windows. Intermittent fasting. I like eating window instead because I like eating better than fasting. So I call it an eating window. So when I was in high school, I started doing this, and everybody told me not to, but I had a dress that I wanted to wear to an occasion. And so I knew that for me personally, partly because it's the way that we raise kids, clean up your plate, eat everything you have. Well, in the school lunch line, I didn't get to choose how much went on my plate. I've never eaten breakfast. I didn't get to choose how much they were putting on my plate, but I did feel responsible to eat it. And then I would say things to myself like, there's kids starving, you should eat everything. All those mean things, which also doesn't help and keeps you from probably losing weight, energetically. So for me, it was easier to skip lunch. I would either just go play a pickup game of basketball, or I would go to the library and study. What I found was that after the first day, first 2 days, my stomach capacity would shrink. And I would only eat from 4 to 8. That's when I would eat. And I would eat pretty much the whole time. I was probably consuming pretty close to the same amount of food. But my body had a lot of time to do everything else it was doing. And again, I was in high school, so I was sleeping 5 hours a night was my average. All the time. And I'm working 40 hours a week. So after the third day, I didn't have hunger pains at noon anymore. I thought that was cool. And my body it was like, we're not going to eat it, like I said, 3 days. We're not going to eat at noon anymore, so we'll just wait until 4, and then we'll release stomach acids. And so that lined up really fast, and then I wasn't hungry at noon. I lost fat starting on the third day like crazy. But then after I lost it to a point, I just leveled out and I just stayed there. For me, it was kinder than trying to bully myself into not eating everything or feeling bad for not eating everything. And when you're not the lunch lady, you don't get to decide what goes on your plate. So the benefits, though, of having that intermittent fasting, if you take your fasted window out further, which is essentially what I was doing, is there's an uptick in growth hormones, human growth hormones. So it creates more youthfulness in your body. Within 12 hours, your growth hormone will go up by 5 times its normal values within 12 to 15 hours of not eating. So not only you're burning fat faster, but you gain muscle easier and faster and maintain it. And if you do work out at all or exercise at a 15-hour mark, that's the best, most optimal time to work out, because you'll get the most out of it. Your body will be ready. You're going to have 5 times the normal growth hormones. So you're going to lay down a lot more muscle, and you're going to burn a lot more fat.
So what do you mean 15 hours? What is
15
From when you
hours
started fasting.
of a fasted. So
Okay,
say you
fast.
stopped eating at 8 o'clock at night, 15 hours after that 8 o'clock workout, then go eat. So, and this rebalances your insulin levels. Within the first 12 hours, your insulin levels start to normalize again because you haven't called on your adrenals constantly to produce insulin. You give that rest and it will rebalance your system. And it takes only a week for people who have serious insulin resistance to fix that. Just by a 15-hour eating window. That's it. Or, I'm sorry, fasted window. And then eating, and you pretty much eat however much you want in the rest of that time. You're just taking in it in, a smaller period of time. And then also about sleep. Your body does the majority of its repairs between 10 and 3. So these are hours that if you can be asleep are the best hours to be asleep. Autophagy. So this is extended fasting. And the guy that did the research on autophagy got a Nobel Prize for it. This is important. This is really good stuff. So the myth that you'll lose muscle if you fast is a lie. That's been proven. You can even look that up. That's been proven so many times. But I think that's one of the fear things that they keep us eating with. Yeah. So your body uses two metabolic sources. It can use two things as energy, and they are glucose and ketones. Your body uses glucose from the last meal that you've had, and so we very seldom get into ketones. But ketones begin as soon as the food is gone, and that's usually an 8-hour window. So your brain loves both. Your brain does different functions on both. Different things happen on both. So if you take glucose through that first 8-hour window while you're sleeping and repairing and begin on ketones, and then you can extend those ketones for a few hours, the benefits are pretty outstanding. And you can look that up. There's a lot of research on this now. Let's see, like for men, this is huge. At between 12 and 15 hours, your body starts converting fat to energy. That's for everybody. Testosterone rises 1,300%. If someone that you know has low testosterone, if they will fast 16 hours a day, their testosterone will come up naturally. Especially if they have the proper components that they can make the testosterone with. You do have to have cholesterol, you do have to have salt, you do have to have minerals. But if you're doing that in a 16-hour fast and over a week, your testosterone levels will normalize. And we need them too, because we are using them now that we're through menopause. Healing projects in the body start then, when you're fasted for 12 to 15 hours. Anti-inflammatories are sent out all over the body, and that's the precursor to healing. So if you're in pain and you're in pain all the time, no healing, just know that very little healing is taking place on that subject. Because the body has a whole store of chemicals in it, and it will send them out getting ready to do things. At 18 to 24 hours, glycogen stores are used up from the liver. And glycogen is something that we use in our body to, it's kind of like a reserve, so that if we have to chase food for a couple days, we have plenty of energy. And this is when autophagy begins. And your body becomes singularly focused to upgrade you for your best chance of survival. When I say that your body is for you, I mean your body is for you. It is so intelligently designed. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. What it starts doing is it absorbs bad cells and it repurposes them. And the cells it starts with are cancer, viruses, and bacteria. It kills them, repurposes them, and builds you from them. Good cells are upgraded. They're made stronger. The immune system reboots. Microbiome is rebooted completely and upgraded at this point. Within 24 hours, it's starting to we gotta fix all this. Full systemic stem cells are released into the system. White blood cells are replaced. Serotonin gets an upgrade. Serotonin is the wake you up, make you feel good. It is the base hormone for all the things that make you feel wonderful. You feel happy and bulletproof because the body knows if you can't be depressed and go chasing dinner, you got to feel good. So in its chemical stores, it's storing serotonin for these purposes. The metabolism speeds up to accommodate all of these upgrades. So you're going to burn fat. It's going to start pulling fat stores out fast. And it actually starts with belly fat, which is beautiful. Viruses, cancer, bacteria are literally decimated by the end of 24 hours. They are just absolutely being decimated. They live on sugar. At 8 hours, the sugar's gone because glucose is gone. They live solely on glucose. Glucose and bread, or sugar and bread, feed cancer faster than anything else. If you starve it, it will die. If it dies, it's gone.
It always makes me sad to see someone who has cancer and are dying, and they fill their plate with these sugar desserts.
Well, that's how it got there. It's how it got growing in the beginning. So at 36 hours, everything listed increases to 300%. That's how much your metabolism comes up to do all the things on the list ahead of it. 300%. And your belly fat, it's gone. 48 hours, you level up by 30% more and hold. At 54 hours, insulin issues, do a full reset. So if you have insulin issues, do a 54-hour water fast, they'll be gone. A lot of people who have diabetes, if they would just do a 3-day fast, they could reset that.
But then they're going to have to maintain.
Yeah, which is just eating in a different order and things like that, eating proteins and avoiding sugar. Which honestly, after 72 hours, 3 or 4 days of fasting, sugar cravings just vanish. And a lot of because, you know, those cancer cells, those bacteria, all those things that eat glucose to survive, they are telling your system continually, more. They are talking to the cells around them, and they will make you crazy. Parasites love glucose. If you have not wormed yourself and you have a sugar craving, the first thing I would do is worm yourself. It's the first thing. And then 96 hours, old injuries, scar tissues, cartilage tears, bone imperfections, organ repairs, and eyesight, everything starts getting repaired. The reason that we do not regenerate, the reason that we do not heal properly is because we eat constantly. That's the truth. And we're told to. You gotta eat, you're gonna die. You know what? I fasted for a month. And I only felt better the whole time.
So,
Not-
I can't even get past the first night, so how do you
Well-
get past the first night?
We're gonna go over that right now.
That's where
Okay? So willpower. We're gonna talk about the mid-cingulate
I can
cortex.
go all day, you know. sleep
The
that night.
mid-cingulate cortex
All the way to
is a
5,
little
but I can't get past
place
that.
in your brain. It's like a little control center. It's teeny tiny little thing. And it sits between your energy body or your emotion body, where everything happens in the back of your brain. And when I say that your heart responds immediately, it sends signals to the brain and through the back of the brain to the mid-cingulate cortex. And the mid-cingulate cortex sits right behind the frontal lobe. And every impulse that you have runs through that. Every impulse, everything that you think you might like to go do. I think I'll go to the fridge, and then you're standing in front of the fridge. Your energy body told you to do that. You didn't even have a decision. Your energy body makes up 90% of everything that you decide upon because it doesn't go to your frontal cortex to decide something. So the mid-cingulate cortex is actually the center of the brain that says, go do that.